اوكي. رجعت لكم بث جديد. قبل ما اروح الشغل صار لي ايه تقول بدخن يعني 20 سنة. ايه فراح يكون بس هيك شوي قسم البطولة، مو ما راح طول. نشوف اول كم جيم شو بصير ونعمل رو. ضبط التعليقات. هلا هلا يا أنس، عليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. نور. منور يا عم الحق. لا لازم. شوف التيم العربي إن شاء الله بيعمل شي اليوم. هو معلق بس اليوتيوب لا لا يا أنس، عليكم السلام. ليش هيك معلق؟ يا لهوي. زبط هلا يمكن. جيني. ايه زبط. والصوت.
It's a win-win-win situation. To earn the great new rewards in the esports shop, you'll need to play one of the Pick'em Challenge games. Back once again is our Pick the Winner game. Pick the Winner lets you predict overall winners for each participating region. Each voting coupon spent gives you one pick, and you can only vote for each team once, so choose wisely. If your chosen team is declared the winner of their region, you'll receive 100,000 EP to spend in the esports shop. With 4 different regions, there's 400,000 EP up for grabs in this game, so plan out your picks and rake in the rewards. Our second game is Team Face-Off. In Team Face-Off, you can earn EP without needing a coupon, simply by picking the winner between 2 rival teams. Like before, EP prizes will be weighted depending on how many votes a team has gotten, so playing it safe for a smaller prize or risking your vote for a higher payout are both valid options. The third game of this tournament is the Chicken Challenge. To play, simply tune into the games as they're being played live on the official PUBG Twitch channels and vote for which team you think will win the chicken dinner. You have until the 11-minute mark to cast your vote, but choosing correctly will earn you a small EP prize. You can play the Chicken Challenge every single game of the tournament, so tune in and win. The last way to earn EP is by watching each broadcast for a special code that will pop up randomly during the games. Enter it fast enough and pick up some free EP for your account. You can get up to 50,000 free EP using these 2 methods, so cast your votes and keep an eye open for codes. You can also get a free voting coupon through a broadcast code. Right after the last match of the week finishes, a code will pop up on screen. Enter it fast enough and you'll earn a free voting coupon to use in the Pick'em Challenge. Remember, at any time during the tournament, you can check out real-time standings, information on participating teams, and player stats in the esports tab in-game. So get acquainted with the teams and place your votes with confidence. Voting closes on June 24th, an hour before the final match begins, so don't forget to cast your vote in time. Now let's talk rewards for all that EP you just won. The esports shop is open for business from June 29th until July 14th. You can view and plan out your purchases beforehand, but be sure to spend your EP during this window, as any excess EP will be
شغال كل شي مو.
on the 14th. PCS4 is back, and our roster of PUBG pros are ready to put on one hell of a show. So log in, study up, place your votes, and strap in for the exciting PUBG Esports mayhem. PUBG Esports, PCS4, and the Pick'em Challenge. Get in on the action today.
بكرة مو اليوم، مو today. جدي عندي شغل. شغل.
Not one on the rock on
Okay,
green.
I'm down to just go, honestly. We just fight them. Yeah, I think so.
I'm dead, don't worry about me.
Further northeast.
No.
Two guys.
He's mulling him.
You're committing on this
Rock,
one.
rock on green, not
He missed.
I think we should get the flush at least so we can fight for this later.
Don't say me, don't say me.
Smoke,
On yellow, smoke me first. There's one guy on yellow.
I'm getting,
Yeah, they can still try to rest the guy on green.
I'm getting naded.
Different team by the way, okay. Nice to see him, I cannot see him.
لا عمى.
I'm safe, I guess. But
Oh, dead.
Play Pubg. Gonna go left side.
Got my kill.
I'm nading three.
he does have to kill Nick. He does probably run a little bit back.
They could fall back to the houses.
I have to run back. We should push the fingers. Okay, I'm pushing a little bit more.
They were on the next rock on your left. That one.
Yeah.
They don't care
Oh,
about hard to hold. Can't see anything. I got come so easily. One guy all the way right. You guys should kill left
Go.
guy first.
هلا يا يونس منور.
Left.
Above.
Almost done.
One's right above me. Go west.
Two guys left.
Taking him right.
The one's wrong, right?
I'm right.
On the left. I'm on him. Come. Push him.
Sorry, I'm dead.
Nice.
Last
He's
year.
slow. We're fine here. We're going to last long. Thank you.
أنا يونس حتى امبارح عرفتك يونس، بس كأنه كنت أنت على اليوتيوب صح؟ امبارح يمكن.
Один фейс на углу где-то, не спешите. Хорошо, не спешите. Оконтролить. Смоки ставьте от левых.
У меня нет ничего, гранат.
У меня-
Скинул.
Окей.
Скинул, забирай.
Тихо.
Нам спину
Надо
могут.
фейзов левых смотреть. Надо лево
Малик
смотреть фейзов.
полетел. Смотрите фейс.
كأنه مسبة كنت عليه مسبة يمكن.
Фейза убили одного.
Да, тихо.
بس تركيا أنا بعرف هذيك مسبة.
Хорошо.
Отдыхал.
Да, тихо.
Даю дым на забор.
Он где-то там
Они под
валяется.
забором.
Хорошо. Это близы, не трогайте их пока.
хорошо.
Им выходить.
هدول أتراك هدول.
Они под нас подошли?
Да. Стопнул
Ног.
фейза.
Правый ног.
Релоуд.
Молик поставил к нам. Молик поставил направо к контейнеру.
شو؟
Нам выходить около
У нас
контейнера.
фейс слева.
أتراك ضد روس ضد
Перед нами
Орбин.
на контейнере, по-моему, пытается залезть. Осторожно. Умер фейс, все, мы против близов. Дай перед нами, не спешите.
Ног.
Право, флеш.
أنا عم تابع البطولة يا يونس، لا رياكت ولا شيء ولا عم ألعب، لا بطولة عالمية. شو أنا ما وصلت هيك ما راح
نوك его.
Найс.
بس عم شوفها مشان في تيم عربي، في سكواد عربي، أول مرة بيوصل سكواد عربي لهي البطولة، فبدنا نشجعه شوي شو بيعمل اليوم تيم الار بي جي.
Welcome to PCS4 Europe Grand Finals. I'm here with Toby and Hyper. Yesterday we had some insane.
هدول ار تي جي شفتهم وراهم، هدول معروفين، في منهم يعني مشاهير عرب فيه، بس حاليا يعني هدول مو مشهورين كثير الشباب،
They're for sure teams that are
مشهورين بالببجي ستيم بس.
They were absolutely insane. But I should say it too. I mean, the Rankle games, as great as they strived on Miramar, kind of really not present at all on Rankle.
And Hyper versus Pro yesterday, they managed to secure themselves a win, and they're looking very, very comfortable in their campaign to win this whole thing here.
Yeah, I think it's a case of trying to maintain here in the final week. That's what I kind of saw yesterday from them. You didn't see the same sort of explosive mid games that we've been used to seeing, and ultimately, I mean, it comes down to a lot of conditions here on the last day. But there's a few teams creeping up. I mean, I was impressed yesterday by Redline and Navi in particular, but a few other teams, making moves or so to maybe try and get some prize money on the board in the final week.
Right, and I saw a page from Heroic. He tweeted that if they manage to win the whole thing,
أنا ما ما عليها
and
متابعة.
I think that's considering their performance yesterday, they have to really step up their game here today, Toby.
Yeah, it's for them it's going to be wins. They're on the same race now that other teams were going against them. It's going to be very hard to catch up on kills. Having said that, if there's a team that could do it, would probably be Heroic, having seen how many kills they've been able to post the other weeks, but they're already behind by quite a margin. So for Heroic today, if they want to win this week as well, it's going to be all about chicken dinners.
I mean,
Let's take a-
it's
Yeah,
I was
go
going to say, it's
ahead.
actually funny if this event runs any longer. I think Heroic are going to end up bald anyway with the way their games have played out. So it's an interesting one to throw down.
Yeah, it's before game number 1 here, we can just go with that. So it's going to be a great day all. We're going to have lots of banter here on the desk. Versus Pro here, this is after 2 weeks of play. They're sitting on 28,000, super good performance. In general, they came out blazing here, Toby. Like, they won the first week. They had a pretty...
لازم اليوم يرفعوا مستواهم، بركي بيربحوا مصاري شوي، حسنوا من كمبيوتراتهم، من وضعهم.
Really comfortable right now.
They're sitting in a good spot, that's for sure. They came into week 1 with a game plan that they wanted to go, and they've pretty much stuck to that game plan all the way through the 3 weeks. And while other teams were trying to kind of find their footing, they went full speed forward from the very first game, and that, to me at least, put them at advantage. And as you're saying now, sitting second place, sure, you have ties from Navi and Redline right behind, but
اليوم ترتيبهم 12.
margin they already have in the money pool as well. My guess is they would have to be below 4th place.
اليوم بيجيبوا لازم وين ونين يصيروا الأول.
Yeah, it
هم
could
من أول
even
8
further
بيصيروا.
depends. If Liquid continues, if they get another win, it's going to be extremely hard for some of the other teams to catch them here, Hypox. So
لا احتمال جابوا ونين يصيروا أول أو
run down
شيء.
the line. Liquid, again, they have 3 games here in Miramar. They had insane performance yesterday. If they open up with decent amount of kills, potentially a win here, they could secure themselves a really good spot. Remember, they are 3rd right now with the points that they got from ESL Master Spring. They got 95 PTC points for that one.
Yeah, but for me, it's again, it was a little difficult to watch Erangel after that start. And again, one thing we didn't really touch on yesterday too much was obviously kind of the troublesome week 2, right? With trying to get themselves back into a game.
أتوقع المباراة الأخيرة ما أحسن بثها يعني أو آخر مباراتين ما أحسن بثها. يعني أفصل بث.
To see them come out and start so dominant in game 1 and 2, and then to have 14th, 16th, and 15th place in the last 3 games, it was a little difficult to watch because I think if we look back at the previous weeks, I almost felt like there were some games where they didn't even have a chance of making it through the mid game, right? Not even having a chance of getting 4 people up to the end game. So to see them start out so comfortably, and then I don't want to say maybe get a little complacent, but as soon as we saw the map switch, we were looking at a different team again.
There's also some insane curveball circles on Erangel, Toby. So obviously, I don't want to take too much away from the 3 games with 14, 15, 16. That you cannot only say that's down to circles.
No, I mean, I agree, and that's kind of what I wanted to touch on as well. With the games, with the circles that we saw yesterday, on Erangel in particular, because I mean, Liquid ain't the team that's known for playing poor on Erangel by any means. So seeing such a good performance followed by a less than average performance on Erangel, you have to go in and say what could be part of the cause to that. And pretty much all those shifts where we went, okay, we did not expect that one coming. Liquid were always on the kind of the bad end of those shifts. So they, with a lot of other teams, obviously, had a really rough time in Erangel yesterday.
And Hypoc, if it isn't VP that wins the whole thing, who do you think has a chance to take it home today?
I mean, the anomaly of the last 3 weeks, right? After all, there is a universe we come out where after we have a fantastic day today and come out and take that. But again, there's a lot of other conditions that need to fall in line for that to happen. So we will have to wait and see.
Quick, Toby, 5 seconds.
I'm going to go with Navi. They had a good win yesterday, and I want to see them perform as well today as well.
It could very well be Navi. We have 6 games lined up for you today, and to guide you through all the action, it's Pantheon Sims.
بلش الجيم الأول وأخيرا.
Yeah, indeed. It is always an honor and an absolute pleasure to be bringing you this. And we are diving into Miramar. And you're right, 6 games in front of us, Rich. And it does feel as though we've had, I'd say, Virtus Pro being the flag bearers of the region thus far. They have truly led the way and kind of shown their ability to adapt and overcome. But others are gaining pace. They are getting closer. And we
Yes, of course.
It will be that dominant closeout. I see a world where we turn on
I see too.
VP go, had enough of other teams getting a little close. We smash it today, boys. But who knows? It's Sunday. Anything can happen. Where is your mind instantly going to now?
ما تسبي.
It's hard not to take things away.
عيب عليك.
It's hard not to look at that team and think, okay, well, we're now looking to see them lose it as opposed to win it. They've set themselves up for success
متسب.
in previous weeks. It now leads us to a point where they're almost unstoppable. It would take
ما بتستحي.
for all the stars, all the dominoes, all the chips to fall perfectly and everything to align up in order for another team to be able to do
بلش هو كمان
it.
يسب.
We came into this and we said,
عيب لك.
Liquid's only possibility of winning this whole thing, first of all, that we're on 8 grand versus 28 grand. You've got to get the win, and then you've got to jump them on kills as well. And we've seen how the frags have been on the side of VP. Like, they absolutely tore this competition up in week number 1. They just demolished every single person. And the hard work that they
person يعني person شباب.
did allow for a little
اللي
bit of
بيكتب اكتبوا بالتعليقات شو يعني person.
first frag coming through, maybe? They get away with that?
P92.
Crack on, whatever works, right? But yeah, just kind of round it off, it's like that they were allowed to have a not so much as good performance in week 2, still okay. But week 1 was just a blinder, and it's put them in this position where, okay, we've got us 20 now, we move on with it, and we store it. After all, another team that's looking...
موبايل أو ستيم. هاي ستيم يا يونس.
But again, they really needed to get going yesterday. We didn't see any wins on the board for After All. They were the next big competitor that could maybe challenge VP.
مبين عندك ستيم.
We've only 6 games left, and After All needs to come into this all guns blazing and pretty much win these games off the bat. There's no room for it.
ما عندك دقة ملاحظة.
No, and I'm with you. And the thing in my mind is we've seen, I don't say the peak of After All, but we've seen how they look when it goes well.
شو هذا؟
Thank you, Luca. Luca.
بس.
Luca. Thanks. But son of a beach.
لا.
But we have seen
العامة ثبته.
again AA for example.
قالت له ابن الهي ابن الشريفة.
They were a little missing.
هم أحقرك.
So again, as a team, as a collective, hard to see.
غير هاي المعلقة.
Liquid have had such a tricky route to this point. They've been plagued with issues which aren't necessarily just their own fault either. It's been
العامة صدمتني والله.
a hard road for them, and we saw what happened when it was good. But then we also have to look, and this is why we have to be somewhat critical, which is I feel bad always doing it because, you know, as I said, we saw Liquid looking fantastic in the first few games, and then, you know, they did hit a bit of a break, and yeah, the circles were cruel. I get it. Like we know we don't need to overly kind of state that fact. I think everyone knows it, but it is a shame to see a team really rise and then just kind of clip the toes on the hurdle, you know, just send a little bit on it. So I was hoping we could see more of that.
ضربة الكيبوردات يا أخي بكبسهم برجع بكبسهم برجع. عرض الحشيش. عرض الحشيش.
But they're not like, you know, we've seen what happens when it's like VP pop off or Heroic, for example. They're unreachable. But Liquid just faded away a little on Erangel, and as said, it's understandable. You can't expect someone to win it all out, but there's a little bit of a shame there for them not to be able to carve out a big space for themselves.
Things were looking promising. Things were looking like they're on the way up here, and we said it was one of those where you had to absolutely smash the frags in the bag in order to try and jump.
Oh, yeah.
You could, with the placement points and with the money that comes into it, from the placements of the wins, excuse me, not placement point, but the wins off the side of it, you can tie them. You can tie them on cash, you can get the 20 grand top prize, then you make it to 28. But again, even still, you have to hope that VP doesn't because if they do, they're going above you. Just as simple like that. Wherever they're going to be placing further down than first place. It was a very, very good run yesterday, and like you say, it was kind of devastating probably from the Liquid fans as well. It's like, okay, this is it. This is the resurgence. This is them going back to top. 2 wins still back to back. No matter which way you want to put it, it's phenomenal. But it just goes from 2 wins to a 6. Okay, not the worst
it's
in the world.
Still okay, but it's
14,
up,
16,
right.
15 for the next 3 is like.
There it is.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
so
look, it can happen, but you're seeing now teams be able to string the kind of second condition in, right? The ability to get those frags alongside. Let's say they're not placing top 5 or pushing to the top 3, where they're, you know, with a chance of getting that chicken dinner under the belt, they're fragging out. You know, when Heroic weren't necessarily.
عادي ترى حدث لول طول البث وانا اسمع سب بس المذيع يعني المذيع ما لازم يسب اللاعب بس هن بجزء من باب المزح يعني مو انه جد عرفت
Navi 30, Redline 30, they are on that cusp They are so close, and they've got one dinner, right? So another chicken dinner and a good win.
ما يصير.
This is catchable today. The bar isn't unreachable. It's not, too far beyond reach. But I would say, at this point, yeah, I mean, a team coming in, picking up a dinner, maybe. Look at maybe Ents. I mean, I feel like I'm always saying maybe Ents. If they got, you get that Ents firepower come online, they get Diggory going, get the chicken dinner, need another one, but they're not too far away on kills. I see that as a reachable goal.
والله التيم العربي برا الزون لسه لازم يفوتوا على الزون.
There may come a very realistic point in today's competition where it becomes
يلا شباب.
impossible for VP not to win this whole thing.
فوتوا على الزون.
We'll let the admins in the back and the desks touch
بالله
on that when
فوتوا.
it's actually at 110% confirmed and official, but there is a very realistic that 3-4 games in, they've done it, they've won, they've done enough work in the previous last 2 weeks that no one else can top them. So for everybody else, you're playing for second, you're playing for third, and let's not, downplay this by any means whatsoever. We still have points in play. We still have cash in play. Just because you haven't necessarily hit the number 1 spot doesn't mean it's still not
Number 1 محمد رمضان.
and striving to get further up that leaderboard. And for every single one of these teams, regardless of who wins this today, there's still a hell of a lot on the line, and there's still a hell of a lot to be played for.
It certainly is, and something to be watched for is the promotion code here. So we're going to pop that on the screen for you. D8BET3 RPM A6Z. Go grab it now, pop it in game if you haven't already got them all, and so as said, thank you very much all you guys tuning in to the very first game. We're warming up here, nice southern circle, didn't really talk about it too much, but southeast, the band beyond Los Leones will be busy, to say the least, and as will VP's vehicles flipping up and over. They'll be okay though. They'll be plodding along, coming in from the western side, and this is something that Toby and I think the desk has highlighted several times now. The VP do like to play maybe the quieter side. They'll take their time. I think we see the different kind of modes that Virtus Pro go.
راح الرمز. حريشك راح. خلاص بلا.
And generally you can see
فكر لعبة.
there is definitely method to the madness, so we'll see how it
أنا بدي لحق وارجع عيد بس.
Who's looking center on this? Who's looking, spot on? I'd say FaZe have a really good start in this, if I'm honest. Bit spread out, but it's not the end of the world. We just see a little bit of action already. We're going to be Redline and Na'Vi, and they're committing on this. And Na'Vi are fully on the receiving end. Already 2 players lost, and Redline holding the line for now. As the rest of Na'Vi go, that's gone extremely poorly for us. Let's spin on.
في تويتش في لول صارت جد بالله. حتى تويتش عطاهم اورنج يعني دار ولا طرد ولا شيء. لا هاي مو جدة يتوقع مزح.
It's synonymous every single game we almost say it. Redline and Heroic just following each other in tandem continuously will There's only one team who's not within this circle thus far, and that's RTG. They'll be on the slow approach from the west side. SMB doing whatever they can to try and stabilize in amongst the walls because you can't. There's not much room in this. We have a lot of water in play. It does cut out a good amount of land mass, and with everyone thinking, okay, circle, if it centers, it throws Los Leones out of there. We're looking for some,
yes, of course.
In play of the city, even towards the outskirts of it. We're looking for double.
حلو شو صار؟ ماتوا الشباب؟ لا لساته لك برا الزون لحاله. والله حلوة هي بجوز بتكون من صالحهم هي التأخير على الزون. خلاص تكون بصالحهم هي التأخير على الزون. لأنه فاضي صارت المنطقة اللي هن تجين إلها فاضية.
We'd have to anticipate this one comes either central, southeast or something like that.
هاي خطة الشباب. لا سكر الزون أكلوا هوا. أكلوا هوا.
It's going to cause a bit of grief in terms of land grab and actually getting a decent sustainable place on this one. And for someone like BP on your screen, for example,
وين راح الديد رجع برجوع؟
inside this circle, but the next one, it could be a fair distance away if they're not careful.
والله شكلهم خايفين.
No, it could be. I want to see what happens next.
شكلهم أكل رعب الشباب.
Heroic, VP, and Ents all down here.
مؤمن الغازي شكرا على السبسكرايب.
400 meters from the coast itself, but not by a massive margin. They're just slightly further north. You can see them up there. There you go. Vascu not far from it, and Page as well.
بين دعس حاله شلون يعني؟
just making out.
شلون يعني فهموني هاي بين ارض اسحق
At this point, it looks like VP are going to kind of place themselves as the most
عندي
southern
بوي
team to stand.
عندي
AA
بو
coming down here. We actually have a lot of teams who are kind of pushing towards the top side, sitting in the south, but this is somewhere else.
مكانهم بتركه وبمشي
Between
مع انه اهم شيء
already Pixel's taking a fair bit of flack there, has to hit the deck. Phase.
يعني مهم كثير بين ار
Challenges to come near the
بالتيم.
compounds. Already Fex has flushed Mert, so it's not even just a knock.
هيلو بس غلط شوف
BBL are now to play these ridge lines and these tributaries quite well. Sometimes it can be a Hail Mary, but with something like this, everyone's going to be in close proximity. All the priority compounds are going to be taken, and for the next 5 minutes, just keep an eye on all these dual.
متراليوس اكل نوك براسه فيكس طرقوا اياه بيو علقت بين بي بي ال قوية فيز قويين يعني ماتوا البي بي ال
If you're struggling just to make landfall, it's a telling
اتراك
story
هدول
about this circle and how these
بس
transitions
لعيبة
are going to go. There's, I look at the water.
ما في حدا مو لعيب كله لعيب
Oh, never mind.
اي واحد وصل لهالمرحلة خلص يعني هذا خط المراحل
What else can you really do?
يعني السهلة صار مراحل أعلى مستوى أعلى
fighting for it. They need to. There's no second guessing. I do want to highlight that BBL fight against FaZe. Zero third-party investment in towards that. No one else getting involved. And credit to FaZe to be so quick on that. Normally you get those leftovers, right? You get that one player who turns into the snake and then maybe a third.
بين ار شو قصة اليوم عم يقلب مرة بيقلب مرة مو مركز شكله قبل شوي كان فاتح بس بجزء تعبان ولا شيء ما أنا مركز
ditch a little that BBL went for didn't really provide as much safety as maybe they'd hoped, or simply put, Fex popped off, which is it's always a good one.
كان لازم يريح قبل البطولة شوي.
This is out towards the northeast side, kind of the entryway towards the circle itself. Liquid heading down the.
أنا هيك بفكر يعني ما بلعب خلص.
Trailing themselves in.
كون متدرب قبل بيوم.
Perfect position to challenge, but they could definitely put a couple of shots in. If Liquid aren't careful, they could get punished. But
فورتنايت الفيز فريق كبير يا يونس مو بس يعني يعني هدول مو نفسهم اللي بيلعبوا فورتنايت هدول غير هدول بس بيلعبوا ببجي ستيم وفي يمكن فيز ببجي موبايل مو في فيز تيم كبير وفي فيز كمان شو اسمه كول اوف ديوتي في فيز يعني شركة كبيرة مو بس تيم كلهم هدول التيام هيك إلا التيم العربي يمكن الباقي كلهم مدعومين عندهم يعني نادي كبير بيكون فيك تنضم لهم بس لازم يكون عندك شروط معينة وهيك تبع عقد معهم يعني هلا أنا إذا بكرة إن شاء الله صرت محترف ونعرفت بروح بعمل عقد معهم بقدم طلب عندهم وبعمل عقد مع الفيز مثلا هاي الليكويد هدول لعيبة بس شو عملوا ما بعرف حركة غبية انستنلي يلا في واحد باقي في الزون من ار تي جي لا كلهم صاروا بالزون لا مش الحال زي فيروس صح بتعرفوا الفيروس ولا كفو يا يونس لعيب فيروس يا اخي لعيب كثير ما شاء الله سريع بس تيم خلص بتفنش على السكواد
no worries, or do we get the just clutches out every 1v2 there is? Like, ooh, Vard's a real nasty player when it all lines up for him, truly. And yeah, Liquid decision making, I mean, who am I to question it? Obviously, we get to see the full picture. It's very easy to be so, well, why would they choose that when we don't see it all? But what I'm seeing right now is Rip9 being naded to smithereens, and Laza not looking too happy with the mutiny. No slouches here, mutiny. A little newer to my eyes. But good enough amount of kills, tying up with Ents at the moment in that regard. And oh, Lazar, come on, how are you alive here, Danimon? Surely give me the one.
عم تقول له موت بقى شو قصتك يا زلمه قديش بدك تضل عايش
Lovely, Danimon there comfortably clearing it out. Now the rest of SMB were slightly further away from this, not by much. Obviously, it's just one left here. And you can see how surrounded this area is. You've got Exhalation, you've got Skade, you've got Mutiny.
مضروبة اليوم المعلقة هاي شربانة شي غلط
Having to find their way in, they might have to swing further north, but you can see the terrain there, right?
ممنوع تشرب هون بالشغل
to drive around, but it may be the safest.
أوروبا ممنوع تشرب وأنت بالشغل
1 minute until they have to really make their mind up.
هاي بتكون سالخة أنينا قبل ما تيجي على الشغل قبل ما تبلش تعليق لا بيشربوا كحول ممكن.
bided their time, and now Mutiny is forced to move forward. However, it gives Mutiny a quick moment of opportunity to be able to switch angles with the vehicles. Supermassive Blaze is
حشيش والله كان حتى عندي بشغلي القديم كانت المانجر اللي عندي
Mutiny's in a bit of a tricky
تطلع
situation.
تدخن حشيشية وواحد أفغاني ويرجع يفوتوا على الشغل. على أساس أنا ما منتبه يعني.
Overextending on their left on another. Good response.
بعمل حالي أنا ما أفهم إنه أنا أهبل ما أفهم آدمي و يعني من ريحته لما ينه مو دخان يعني مو ريحة دخان عادي.
What? Granula lived. How does he have like a flak jacket? Like how is he doing this?
كفو الار تي جي لسه بالزون لسه قريبين زون حلو عندهم ريدج. كان شغلي بمطعم كبير يعني يونس. اشتغلت أكثر من شغل أنا. حاليا بالألمينو الألمنيوم.
So who's it been favorable for?
كمان شركة كبيرة يعني
Redline, Navi.
نعدل على نطور
Now
بالألمينو.
Navi are down to 2, so keep that in mind. They are crashable. They are on the
أنا
right
بشتغل
side. Now,
بالتغليف
this side
هلا
is the eastern edge of this, which is what we're seeing right now.
بالكواليتي
One of the example fights between DA
بالجودة
and
هيك.
Chung just has to tuck himself in here. Squeaky knows what he's up to. And that's actually FaZe and VP. I didn't see that fight. Maybe Spyro over peaking a bit of
فري لانشر لا والله ما بعرف شو في لانشر شو بيعمل. ما عندي وقت فراغ شغلي يعني 8 ساعات 9 ساعات باليوم ما في وقت فراغ.
Or they focus down to third party DA and Ents. It looks like they've gone for the third party. Physics already going to find Pixel. That's going to open up maybe an avenue forward. They all need to move west here. They all need to move about 300, 200-ish meters.
RPG لحد الآن ما عندهم كلات.
And FaZe are waiting. So they
صاروا المرتبة 14 بس هلا إن شاء الله بآخر الزون بيشتغلوا. إنهم عم يحاربوا لحتى يفوزوا لأنه البطولة صاروا مختلفة. بس الأول اللي بياخد نقاط، الثاني ما بياخد نقاط إلا الكلات تبعه بس، الثالث ما بياخد نقاط. تغير السيستم يعني. فنبدأ يحاولوا يضلوا الأول يجيبوا الجيم يعني عشان ياخدوا 10 نقاط والكلات تبعهم. ايه اذا جابوا وين خلص صاروا بالاوائل اكيد. واذا جابوا وينين خلص ضمنوا اول 8 بياخدوا مصاري يعني اذا ضمنوا اول 8 مكافآت يعني. حرام يعني وصلوا لمرحلة ما ياخدوا ولا دولار. والله حرام. فرصة كل هالتعب يروح على الفاضي. هو ما في شيء على الفاضي صراحة، كله هذا التعليم وعم يتدربوا هيك كله بحقه يعني. كسبان غير المصاري، كسبان انك خبرة تلعب مع اقوى سكوادات بالعالم.
RTG, the West is theirs. They have got the challenge from the south of AA. Now, I want to see what AA do with this. They've been, not necessarily quietly, but they've been uncontested somewhat in the south. They haven't had too many threats just yet. Heroic as well, a quieter game so far, no big early challenges. And I was looking for them on the
الزون عندهم الزون عندهم كفو. لازم يقتلوا ال AA. هلا الديد عم يشيك عند ال AA يمكن يموت، راح يتفنش الديد غالبا، راح يتفنش إلا إذا كفروا الشباب. 2B وبي ان ار حلوة والله. ايه هو تطور ممكن البطولة الجاية تربح تصير يعني. وهيك صار مع الدي اي مثلا. دي اي التيم القديم كانوا هيك يعني يفوتوا يخسروا آخر شي بلش ياخدوا على الجو. هذول في بي روس لعيبة نار. يعني ما بحب كتير يعني
also remove the second. But yeah, FaZe, they've got to be quick here, Lauren, because
تفكير
it's not
تبعهم
an
سلموا.
easy task to get through the middle of both red lines
شجعهم شوي.
when there's a road in the middle of you.
But I like this from Fax.
فيز انا ما بحبهم بالببجي ما بعرف
Try and
ليه.
get them gone quickly, and that's what they've done. Really well done by whoever made that call there. Really nice decision making to try and
بحب
get
الليكويد
the
اكثر.
eastern side, as you said, quickly.
سمعتوا الليكويد.
There is a time limit on this because they've got further problems. If they go south, they're going to have the leftovers or maybe the scraps of this fight if anything comes from it. If they go north, they've got red line with a pre-established compound and high ground. So FaZe needed to move now, which they are doing. They're going to start working out which way to go. It looks like VP are very aware already. Perfectix and Spyro, they are looking towards FaZe. Whereas it looks like Lou and Batulin's kind of keeping eyes on, but I don't know how they. Oh, excuse me, hit my mic. I don't know how aware they are of 5. They could be a little unnoted. Lou, let's see what you got here. Good tag, no frag. Gustav down low, forced away, but Perfectix finds him. There's the tags he needed.
اوه نزل اثنين خالصين الفي بي الروس حرام ضيعوه والله شلون هيك شلون ما حسوا عليهم
VP from the sideline, Physics there to help him out and support him. That's the fight that I wanted to see throughout this competition. This is the fight.
ماكو هيك يا ولد لا نزلوا ديد قلت لكم راح ينزلوا الديد بس مو هدول شو دخلوا فشوا من على اليسار هدول بلا اكل هوا
northwestern side. We'll keep our minds towards FaZe and 5 as well, because I see a
ما
couple of
تدد
and Page chiming in with one himself from a little bit further south, a little bit closer in on the circle. But it looks like 5 have a good way
دد صار
to
دد
FaZe on the cross. We'll see what Dex can do. He's already got 4 this go of things, but time is not on his side here. Blue's on his back, and the nade comes out. Fex taking chunks from the blue itself. 80 trying to stay ahead. Sees the nade. You can see Fex trying to just work around that.
اكل نيد بعبه فيكس
The foot nade! Dex is an animal! He's doing everything. He's doing the dirty to FaZe. He gets it! Who is this man?
شو اسطى 5 هذا محنش اليوم
5 kills. He wants more. He gets more.
فن سكواد لحاله خلص اليوم هذا ضابطه معه شكله طيب شباب متواجهين مع تيم اس كي دي زدت له نيد لا وفر نيدات هلا حلوة كيف ما نزل لا ولو غشاش اللعبة
And you know what? This is exactly what you were saying, Rich, and I'm so glad we got to see.
ايه نزلوا الديد غدروا
As much as we were, you know, a little saddened to see those hot drops.
الار تي جي صاروا 3 بس.
Like as individuals, we haven't got to see them play yet, really. And you were singing this guy's praise through the open qualifiers.
انا لعبت اللعبة 3 شهور قتلت بس واحد هي اول 3 شهور بس اصعب شيء صعب اللعبة بدك تظبط الماوس تبعك تظبط الدي بي اي تبعك بسرعة اول شيء انا لعبت بالدي بي اي سريع صار شوي بلشت تصير احسن تاخذ ايدك خلص اوه انغدى هلا انحصروا بين سكوادين يعني مصيبة والله مصيبة ما ماتوا الشباب اكيد توبي نزل خالص حرام حلو بي ان ار حلو كفو بي ان ار نزل بي ان ار فنش بي ان ار فنش الار تي جي لا اخي انحصروا كيف هذول لفوا من على اليسار نفذوا من السكوادات كلها الاسكي دي
gonna kind of make them hit the brakes for a second now. I do know.
GG شباب.
Still in this, and look at that board, Rich.
الجيم اللي بعده إن شاء الله.
Second place, already a win under the belt. Good handful of kills. They could be chasing Liquid in this. If they get a couple more, this could be the one to jump them towards the top, at least within this match day. And AA are under the gun. They've got a lot of nades coming in. They've been halted in their progress. 20 seconds. They're close enough to the circle. They can just shuffle in a little bit, get those vehicles up to safety. But who's left? We look across. Heroic down to 2. There's a lot of scraps of teams left. Obviously, Skate and Redline are the 2 that have the full force. AA down to 3. Navi the 2. And of course, as I said.
مين بياخذها شباب تتوقعوا؟ انا بور
Some
الريد
pieces
لاين.
around here, and we're going to see that circle
لا والله
move
مو
in.
الريد
It's
لاين،
got a little
هدول
bit
الاس دي
of
راح
distance,
ياخذوه.
but not by a large margin.
حرام
We've
موقع
got Red
الشباب
Line
كان
here,
حلو،
who's
كان لازم
got
يقتلوا
the
الاس كي
field
دي
pretty much in front of them. Quite a
ووضعهم
decent
بالسليم
piece of
كان.
area. This isn't easy to
بيبقى عليهم
get
الاي اي اي.
It's important to also note the teams that are in play here. Bar Skade. This is second, third, fourth, and fifth.
ايه لا
All on the leaderboard when it comes to money. Not necessarily on the chicken dinners overall. Certainly Redline and Navi with one of them from yesterday. That will be huge to tuck into the bank. But for Redline, this would be massive to be able to tow it up to Liquid and send them a real challenge. 11 grand in the bank already for this team. Certainly put a lot more pressure onto VP. AWM on Anonymous. It's not a bad endgame gun to be able to have, especially with a circle like this that's very open and exposed. Redline, full rotate to the north, 2 vehicles in hand so they can keep mobile. Getting closer and closer.
لو مات الاس كي دي راح يكون مع الاي اي. هو افضل موقع لانه عندهم يعني جبل.
Best of a bad bunch for now. Skate just got to be careful.
الاي اي يمكن ما بعرف من وين، بس الريد لاين روس، اس كي دي ما بعرف. نافي شغل اوروبا.
Unless one of these grenade strikes, the mortar shelling begins. After all, to put on red alert.
Again.
لا طلع هدول اس كي دي. نزل واحد منهم.
I don't think he even expected to get that one.
الشلة بالأوبن غلط.
Misa stops him in his tracks. Good work from him. Misa does need to stay alive though.
بس مضطر.
See the push now coming in. Red line.
حلو الريد لاين فاتنا للطرف الثاني. والله الريد لاين شكله راح ياخذه. اوووو شو هالايم؟
I'll do better. I'll just keep it going. I'll do it twice. Screw it. And now Bogati, Zorf having to now turn their attention. Maybe they can start pushing right on back in because
الريد لاين صار موقع احلى هلا.
great moves from Red line here.
صار الريد لاين راح ياخذها يمكن. لعيب لانه واربعه فول سكواد.
About to move solid near. Look at the damage numbers just flicking on screen. Another follow up and that could spell disaster if it lands. Perfect. All of them.
صار الثاني لسه هن الثاني اصلا. راح يصيروا الاول. بعد الجيم يمكن اذا فازوا راح يصيروا الاول. جي جي ريد لاين.
This is VP's challengers. This is VP's closest competitors in terms of monetary earnings.
انت هلا مع الاي اي مو يونس ولا لا غيرت رايك؟ اي اي كمان موقع حلو بس 3 هيرو ما بعرف عصيانين برا الزون هلا. النافي اذا بيشوفهم بيفرموا فرم.
Certainly does. And I love the fact that there's two kind of narratives going on here, right? We have one.
والله حرام لازم الار تي جي كان لا يوصل لهالمرحلة هلا. حرام.
If they win this, or they get a couple more kills. The way they're approaching it looks like they're playing to their strengths. I love that sweep from kind of east to west, took the fight while that AA Skade battle was going on. Now AA have actually got themselves back up to fighting strength. 3 of them standing, all healed up, ready to rock and roll. QBE still noses another team. Obviously, they were keeping good track of that kill feed, but on the other side, Na'Vi and Heroic just locked in here. No one really can get past each other, but Heroic do need to move.
خلاص الهيرويك خالصين.
That's why the nades are out. It looks like Rich. It's going to be time for them to push up.
معقول يقتلوا النافي؟ كل شيء وارد. نزل واحد بالنت. نزل واحد منهم. خالصين. شفت شو عمل؟ ما تفنش سكواد. يعني واحدة بواحدة. بعد ما مات كانت النت تبعه موجودة فنش سكواد النافي. كفو والله. انتحار يعني.
Yeah, after all's position is the thing that's going to be killer, isn't it? Like, how do they get back in this? They're kind of pinned to the south.
Red line ولا ايه
They have the best shot to center. I mean, it's still relatively even.
أنا بقول ريد لاين لعيب الريد لاين.
Is a big deal.
نزل واحد خلاص. جي جي ايه.
Deep smokes coming out instantly, just trying to split the battlefield a touch, give them that room to work up. And after all, look a little bit lost as to what to do, trying to hold the line. But look at red line, they mean business here today. This is no hold.
حلو النين.
Pushing. Bogati.
حلو التفنيش.
Flush comes out, 10 kills now, double digits. Bogati blinded, couldn't even see it coming, and now
تعال يا حبيبة قلبي.
left with 4 to find in a world just bearing down. You get the flashes, the smokes, the mollies, it's all
ماكينات
there.
ماكينات.
Headlines in the end.
لا والله اوروبا، عالم اوروبا طلع معناته مو روس. امبارح سمعت عم يحكوا روسي، جابوا لقطة.
They start today off and their challenge to get up towards the top is looking absolutely perfect. Good maneuvers towards the north to get into the position, and like when you look at after all place where they were, we both touched on it. It was always going to be difficult to get off the back of it. We saw some weird, wild, and wonderful stuff during that game, and honestly, for a championship Sunday, this is what we want. I'm hoping this is a sign of things to come for today, Lauren.
أنا توقعت إنه بعرفوا اللعيبة شوي. امبارح شفت مواجهات يعني لهم بالبطولة كمان. امبارح كان في بطولة نفسها، فشفتهم يعني عم يلعبوا لعب حلو.
Let's find out if they can give us the lay of the land thus far.
Thank you so much, guys. We will definitely give you the lay of the land here. And with Redline in 7 games, they get 2 wins and 2 second places here, Toby. What an amazing start for the day for them.
بس والله أنا توقعت الشباب يعملوا شيء.
Today, of course, they still have the hurdle of not only surpassing Virtus Pro, which they have done for the day, but also making sure that Virtus Pro falls quite a bit further down the line in order for them to take the first place spot overall. But solid performance from them, no doubts about it whatsoever. I like the way they played it in slow on the top and then just completely cleared out the table from there.
Yeah, extremely well executed. And also the rotation there on the northern side really paid off for them, Hybok.
Yeah, it did. I mean, it came down to one of these kind of weird end games where it's like it's a ridge that defines it, right?
Right.
Unfortunately, coming out with some great utility usage once again. I think this whole game, there were so many nades. I'm hoping the Dex highlight is in this package. I pray it will be. But yeah, just utility usage left, right, and center here from the get-go.
And also this dirty spray down liquid losing 2 from this one, Toby.
Yeah, that's just, I mean, that's just Vart doing Vart things, and seems like he's got a little more FPS going in today's game, as we were saying as well, and than he seemed to have yesterday with the way that he was talking about it. So good for him to get a double there. Of course, still tough ride for DA overall, but hopefully also a good individual performance from him there that can give them something going come the next couple of games.
And I actually love this southern area here, Hybok, because it's such a vastly different terrain because there's so many dips and divots you can play.
Yeah, it is, and it always comes down to just team fighting, right? I mean, vehicles become less and less viable beyond like circle 3, other than maybe pinning it in a dip and hoping for the best. But just look at this, man. Dex was on fire. I didn't even catch that one during the game. But
شلون غدروا للديد ها؟
these guys are looking again. Actually, they made a very good point throughout the cast here. This is just the end of that 1v4 onto phase, but a team that. I mean, Toby and Rich both singing their praises from the open qualifiers, and we didn't really get to see them because of this Picardo Pachinki hot drop.
Right.
So it's good to see them actually come out and show us, why they're here.
Yeah, and what I'm kind of sad is that when you see the mechanical skill in these guys is, imagine if they actually put the hours in Toby to play together, to scrim and all stuff like that,
Yeah. I mean, even with that, they would still be miles behind in terms of amount of time played together, given the fact that they did not have a team as full before, like, right at the start of the tournament. But I agree with you. I mean, the fact they can go out and put up numbers like these and a performance like this, if they were to be able to bring this all day, every day, they'd be up there fighting with the best. And I mean, now they are up here. They made it through the open qualifiers. They made it through on individual performances like what we just saw from Dex. And they're back here again, 7 kills this game. But keep in mind, yesterday they had 9 kills in total. So it's a great start, although a poor performance yesterday, and hopefully that can get them going.
Massive step up.
حسهم دوافير هذول، حسهم دوافير أنا بالجيم. هذول اللي بيدرسوا كثير عن جد هذا دافور والله. مبين دافور.
But we have 4 teams right now with Redline joining with 4.
ماكينة.
That's quite impressive.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and actually, I know Lauren was talking about calculating how this laid out. Obviously, a 5th place finish week 1, 6th place in week 2. Obviously, this now puts them, I think, just ahead of Liquid. I think we did the numbers on the kill count, right? That's going to put them top now overall. But definitely one. I mean, you mentioned as well, obviously not qualifying for ESL.
أركب لحق الكون المرة.
Bigger picture, a bit of a concern, but Redline making a push for it on the final day.
With that is game number 1 done. We have 5 more games lined up. We're going to be right back after the short break, guys.
Still kind of, yeah,
like you mentioned, I think about a 45-55 or something like that. Now a little bit of cross.
هاي لقطة بين فيز ومين تي 1. هاي كانت البطولة العالمية يعني بين القارات، بطولة القارات فيك تقول كأس العالم يعني. عم يجيبوا لك أسئلة وأجوبة. للي مسوي ديسلايك أكيد عربي حقود. وين؟ عندي؟ عندي حدا مسوي ديسلايك؟ يا حبيبي شو؟
has any plans of running into this area. They just want to get it over with, move on, and hopefully get themselves into the weekly finals.
ما انتبهت والله لهذا عم ديسلايك.
If they throw it properly, Sungjon's just comes up short, doesn't get inside the door, but Miraku is gonna get.
البطولة لا ليش يكون عربي بالضرورة.
If they throw it properly, Sungjon's just comes up short, doesn't get inside the door, but Miraku is gonna get knocked by Kale's follow-up. Iroh gonna hold the corner now, gonna get one, looking for two. Oh no, no, no! You can't have this, Damwon Kia. You cannot have this. You can't lose under here, and you only have Kale left. That is a...
ما ادري تحريات كلب. لا يا ذا سلامتك. نعمل لهم ديسلايك كمان نحن صار اثنين عرب. يا عمي لو بي اس مريض. هاي فاز حبايبك يونس. عرفتوا شو عملوا؟ هدول فاز. يلا يا رب نلحق الكود.
Redline managed to take the first one of the day here, Toby. Quite impressive. They managed to get 4 wins on the board now, and they're looking extremely good to at least finish in the top 3 now.
Yep, so I just punched my microphone there. I was so excited for Redline to get themselves a good start to the day. Phenomenal performance. I mean, I was a little worried with the push down on that north side of the hill. I thought maybe they'd be exposed to Na'Vi, but they knew exactly what they were doing. They knew the terrain. They knew that they had enough of a ridge to hide behind. And again, perfect timing on pushes. They waited for Afterall to make a play onto skate. They came up, they punished both of them, and they got themselves the win. It was a great performance from them.
لا صاروا الأخير لا ولو ظلم هيك. بس شوف يعني فوارق قليلة جدا. فيها أمل والله.
Unless something crazy happens, right? A really good opportunity to finish within the top 3 overall.
Yeah, and if we take a look here on the right side of the leaderboard here, who are we expecting to maybe jump on the right side here, Abba?
I mean, if we go on kind of expectations, obviously 8 kills per win. If there's a couple of teams that potentially can put another 2 wins up today, that can certainly make a push for it. I mean, eyes go towards Heroic. Little uncharacteristic in terms of performance so far here. But other than that, I mean, I'm not seeing an awful lot. I mean, FaZe got up to what 9 or 10 kills before they ended up falling to just Dex alone. But again, even in the previous weeks, we've seen.
يلا طلع الكود. تحط الكود نام. مو ننام يعني نكمل.
I kind of feel like we could potentially also see a Na'Vi jump here, Toby. If they manage to start up and get everything running, they could make a run for it, and also potentially.
جيب له حالة الصداع والله العظيم مريض. اثنين ديسلايك شكله خوية. متفقين على البطولة. تعال نسوي ديسلايكات للببجي.
So could easily have gone Navi's way. So no, I mean, I have put my guard on Navi at all. I would honestly been a little surprised to not see them win a game.
عادي الواحد ممكن يحط ديسلايك يا اخي، المذيع ما عجبني شكله.
I wouldn't be surprised to see them get from a win today as well.
او مثلا يقول المذيع ثبت بدي احط ديسلايك
I was
يلا
gonna ask you something, but we're gonna
عادي
get the game ready.
حقه.
For me, I'm actually kind of interesting to see if VP continues this kind of slow play style because they're playing extremely slow and very cautiously. They have the kills.
شو هاي؟
If they just
بلش
stay in
الجيم.
the top 5, they can
ابو
potentially
عضال
lock this win down.
بدنا كود
Take it away, Pantheon.
بلا مسخرة.
Will do, jumping right on in, starting in the
راحت جابت الكود هاي.
south. We now have a new leader in the lobby at least, but to change things in the bigger picture, you got to deliver some big wins now. Rich, your mind after that. Where are your thoughts apart from that Dex clutch?
I mean, that was something, right? That was a real treat to watch on a championship day as well. It's exactly
أكيد جابت لنا الكود هاي.
players that we expect from players at this caliber and this kind of performances in this lobby. Mind-wise, it's hard not to take it away from Redline after the win yesterday. And after
حلو.
the position they were kind of
الشباب نزلوا بالنص.
into this whole thing. It wasn't as if they were, you know, in the
يا رب الزور عندهم.
as if they were completely out of this one. So now we look for more wins. We look, okay, your 5th place position, 11,000. It's still a damn sight less than 28,000 that VP has garnered throughout its time. So there's an awful lot of work to do. For VP, a bit more pressure has been applied. Liquid having to, yes, it's bad, but they're only on 8 grand. With Redline being there, things get a little bit more tricky, and yes, it might only be a couple of grand more, but it's still closer than the other two when we look towards After All, when we look towards Heroic. They're the two teams, the real two challengers that could have been stepping up to the plate.
لا يا زون انت ليه ظلمة كده؟ انت زي الدنيا.
We'll kind of say with the circle they had a decent circle towards the end. There were only 2 players in play, not really much they could do up against Heroic, and it was just mutual destruction between both of those two teams. But yeah, Redline is now and truly on the board. The question is,
يلعو قلبك اعطينا كود.
can we keep going forward? How does VP respond to this?
Oh my god. Oh.
Waiting, aren't we? I mean, they've been here and there, but
في رأيي الار تي جي لو راح يسوي شيء راح يكون زي اللي فات، بس لازم يقتلوا اللي جنبهم عشان ينضموا. لا والله يا يونس شوف الار تي جي انت ما لك شايفهم عم يلعبوا بطولات، يعني باخر جيم ممكن يجي يعملوا شيء احيانا. يعني هن كيف تأهلوا لهون بتعرف؟ كانوا يمكن ترتيبهم 5 مدري 6 تمام، فهن بس بياخذوا اول 3 للبطولة هاي، فبآخر جيم جابوا الجيم الأخير، صاروا شو تأهلوا الثالث على 3 نقاط يمكن بس فرق بينه وبينهم بين اللي كان ثالث يعني، فتأهلوا للبطولة هي عرفت؟ فهن يعني أنت معك لآخر لحظة، بس هلا يعني أنت لازم تكون تعبان من أول البطولة، مو آخر شيء تصحى عرفت؟ يعني يكون معك شوية رصيد بعدين مثلا تقبل عجيبة، فممكن يعني ممكن بآخر لحظة يعملوا شيء، بس هلا صعب شوي لأنه هدول التيمات مو ضعيفة، بس كل شيء وارد. عندك لسه كم جيم؟ 5 جيمات، هذا جيم الخامس يعني منه ممكن، بس لازم يشدوا ال5 جيمات لحتى يمشي الحال.
So to speak, within that region. It's not often we get it, and it is to do with the encapsulating hillsides around it, which always push it away.
هلا أنا مع تيمين، ليكويد 3 تياب، ليكويد في بي عفوا 4 5 عم شجع 5 ليكويد في بي ال انس والشباب بس هدول.
We shall see. The time will tell, but no, it's kind of also touch on what we saw yesterday, which was a very good showing of excellence from BP, and also how pressure doesn't let them crack and how they still carry on performing. You see Liquid get 2 wins.
باي باي.
Let's go.
حصر.
Finish it. Nice. That's how you surround him and finish him. Good lord.
Full send on it. So
But yeah,
as you're
Liquid
saying,
getting
sorry.
2, and then VP instantly responds.
يلا يا بنت الحلال.
It's like, all right, that
كود. شكله الجيم ما في كود.
You know, the concern is that if VP do not come in with a win today, then that really is game on for anybody to maybe, I say anybody,
ليش عم يتأخروا بالكود؟
third, fourth, fifth to try and jump them. Redline have caused a little bit more of a stir. I was hoping generally for more from After All. You know, it's only one game, so we'll kind of, or only one day even. I'm really hoping someone like, you know, Heroic, someone like After All would have already had a win or two on the board by now and be up there to be able to challenge this. Yeah, it's an interesting format. It's certainly a different one. It keeps us on our toes trying to formulate what could happen and how things should happen. It is a lot more forgiving, I think, for teams if they win week 1 or week 2, but then they have a mediocre week on the previous one. It can be a lot more forgiving than dropping down in a ton of points on the older rule set, so to speak. So there's more chances where you can kind of mess it up. And anything can happen, hey? We carry on to the end, we watch it throughout, and we see where placements are going to be done by the all said and done.
Yeah, I mean, that's the nature of PUBG, though, isn't it? I mean, we all play the game. It's one of those situations.
كله صار بنص الزون كله يلا روحوا يا شباب. الانس ليك شبعات.
Consistency has always been the most elusive part of this game, and it's always surprised us when we see it. Right, that's the key element that's always been the big celebrated factor of. Well, can you be consistent? Can you do this time and time again? Can you go against the nature of RNG in this game, where literally the area you play in is somewhat random, right? That circle moves, hard shifts happen. If you can find consistency through that, and then through every other element of this game, credit to you. That's the big key there. So it's one of those things I think that certainly stands out to us when we see teams being able to do that, but any changes to the format that people are used to or the form that this game takes, it will take time to adjust. So for now, I'm looking at most of the teams who had the early moves have taken themselves. It's mostly kind of southwest of Los Leones, north and east staying relatively clear of teams. You have Exhalation and DA maybe slotting in on the eastern side. I want to see where DA take themselves as well. Navi here, coming in kind of Monte Nuevo side. Down that road, they'll be kind of flying past Picardo soon enough. But no one in a mad hurry. Ent will always be the last team in. Don't ever worry about them. Plodding along, waiting for those hard shifts. They'll be just fine. So as I said, it's kind of one of those wait and see situations here with everyone in this lobby. We
هذا لحاله متراليوس لا مع واحد معه لا ما معه
next to Heroic Phase and AA. So
بعد شوي اصحاب
kind of I guess lower band.
ايش قاعد لحاله
that way, near on the coastline ish. A little further up, but ish. So that's their kind of springboard point. Everyone else beyond that is kind of west of Los Leones, a little bit further south, and then everyone else beyond that, the kind of 3 bands as said, the rest are still coming in. So this is in the south. Phase getting the first glimpse of AA, who are slightly further on the coast themselves, but we saw AA doing this before. They like the coastal play. That's about it, really.
Squeezing into the middle is not going to be bad here, because if it does hard shift either way, you're going to have at least a short trek towards the circle. I tried to explain it in the previous round, but the play-by-play was just too much, and it was just such a condensed circle. It was hard to get in, but Los Leones, there's a southern band to it, or a southern diamond, should I say, rather than band. It does shut out further down south, and it's quite a rather large hill of inaccessible terrain when it comes to circle endings.
هذا ليش لحاله كمان
Directly south of Los Leones, up against the coastline.
Where's Pubg? Oh, okay. Okay, that's fine. His name looked like weirdly close then. That's fine. Yeah.
There's only like a small area of which you can kind of slot a circle in all the way down to the bottom of the south, and that's why teams will tend to, with something like
كمل السيارة لحاله
more towards the western side, or at least the west of Los Leones. Misa going down. That's not good. Good for Ents, of course. It's another body on the board. Ooh, it could be more players.
شو بين لا ولو اهرب اطفر.
Guaranteed he will have heard that and maybe even seen just like, you know what, we're not dealing with that, I'm not going down there. No need to do it whatsoever. RTG, Skade, Ents, all not too far from one another. VP had a quick check-in with the church, but it's going to be extremely hot. Lose there to send some bullets back in response. Give them a bit of cover and fire to allow them to get to the opposing side. They'll keep the garages in the compounds that they took earlier on. Spyro just upwind of that, Lou further down. Lou might even stay there, it just gives them a foothold in 2 different places. If not, it just disallows it to any other team that wants to come within vicinity of VP. Mutiny, Exhalation, DA, all playing closer to Los Leones with DA further over by the east and
الانس
see who's
جنب
going to
الشباب.
benefit the most with the circle.
Western side. So this could open up that road that leads out of Los Leones, right? The northern road that kind of comes out towards
بس شو
the west.
عليهم؟
You can see where, if you look where VP are kind of going up towards, they'll probably go to the compound right there. But again, that roadside is very popular with endings. We see it so often. But again, we've seen a couple kind of split around. We've seen
لازم توزع شوي.
in towards Los Leones. They caught all of us out. Let's see if anyone gets caught on rotations here. As much as it is a bit of a shift, if you look at the overall circle, considering that southern piece wasn't played because it's in the water, it's not too much of a hard shift. But to keep you guys very much locked and loaded, let's throw up the promo code. I'm going to keep my mind on the game, so make sure you grab it while it's on the top of the screen. So pop it in the game, get yourself some rewards. For now, Heroic have made it out at least out of the eye line of Code Marco, trying to get a couple of shots through. I think Vasco could be open to this.
ما راح
And again,
تسكور.
this mostly would be one or two players maybe getting knocked on transition. This shouldn't be full squad wipes at this point unless it's blind sends, which most of these teams will be scouting out properly. This is the caliber of quality we bring, right? Like most of these teams don't make these errors. It's why the game's very quiet. We're 11 minutes in and there's been 2 losses.
بالشاشة الثانية متأخر يلعن.
I think both of them were on rotations. So again, that's the whole thing to keep in mind. These games, if the circle's like it is and there's not some mad hard shifts going on, they're gonna be pretty safe about this. These
وريني
teams
هذا
don't
كتبه
make
بالتعليقات.
mistakes.
They'll know what the lay of the land is like within the middle of the circle as well.
هذا
It's not
كتبه.
something that you can just dive on into head first and
يلا
hope
بلحق إن
that
شاء الله.
otherwise you dive on head first into hell, unfortunately. The one place that FaZe will be thinking in the back of their minds is, okay, well, we have this very shallow hillside where circles don't aim for. It's going to move away from it eventually. So getting yourself further forward, which they have done, gives them a jump step forward. But
لا لا
was a FaZe Navi VP.
شو صار؟
BBL, lesser extent, SMB, anywhere. Chumasera, Los Leones, this area in the middle. To be fair, there's a lot of places running from Picado as well. Ensa's position, RTG, all the way down further to Heroic. Like, this is a very, very big area for circles where there's no defined, although there's ever, you know, a definitive location of where they're going to be going. But there's certainly a lot more in a sporadic area where you're just going to have to pick an area that's
نجي الحال أخذنا الكود.
okay for mobility, keeping on your toes, keeping vehicles alive, being able to make some sort of a complete Hail Mary send should you have to. And these positions that we're probably going to see come into view shortly.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, well, you can. This is the problem. Everyone to get up to really Navi, they have to have a very uphill battle. It's not easy. This is very, very rough terrain.
No, but that's good timing from Alia. Just that little like crouch up was enough to note it, right? And now BBL are firing in anyway. So if Alia sees someone get knocked, he could try and do something with his. I don't think Fuzzface saw him. He crested that hillside for just a split second.
لمين صوت؟
For no time at all, and yeah, he's gonna get back to the compound. Faye's gonna continue forward here. Fuzzface gonna work his way up, 6 smokes and nade. He's got plenty to play with. But Metralis is a really uncomfortable position for FaZe. They have to keep pressuring a little further forward, find a bit of safety on this hillside. Circle update comes in. Okay, Navi, VP, FaZe, very much happy in that main area. They're no divided by roadside. Metralis
صوت للليكويد.
position if BBL want to join over. Liquid instantly coming in.
ما
Where's
صوت
Liquid
له.
gonna go to here?
This stage, you're looking for dips, you're looking for ridge lines, you're looking at anything that you can take and try and just stabilize as opposed to fight for all the pick of the bunch when it comes to territory, and priority compounds have already been taken. I mean, if they fully send it, there is a garage they could just ram a vehicle into. Up and over in the air we go. That'll do. We'll stay here for now.
Nice.
There's a safety point to be able to work off the back of. Leos tried to find the
دقيقة ليش أعطوني الكود إذا أنا ما فيني صوت؟ ما فيني صوت عم يقول.
do not be coming here. Save the scale.
الله.
Even with vehicles at this stage, you've got a shack will do. It's barely anything,
You
but
take what you're given.
yeah, we'll take it, right? Clip with
ما بعرف شو أعطوني طيب بالكود. قالوا لي مشي الحال بس شو؟
space, or even just remove a few players from VP.
أيوة.
Or Navi, you're not going out of the window. It gives you a window, and it will be seconds, but it gives you a window to make some kind of a maneuver. if you have to. Now they're in the thick of it and in the middle. Probably shouldn't
غريب.
have the next circle. You're going to be okay. You'll just have to go full blown defense.
يعطوني شي هدية بكرة.
Fears
نشوف.
have disengaged from Navi. They've opted to go back across the road.
نقاط يمكن.
themselves, and they'll prepare for the next final.
قتلوا واحد من ار تي جي. لا
They
لا.
might have to go into it, and if you're already there in the thick of it, it becomes that much harder to.
ريفايف عملوا ريفايف. كيف شفت؟
Yeah, and I also think seeing the probably BBL exhalation, a couple of other teams will be coming to
يمكن
that
طب مش
side.
حط الكود ما انتبهت.
Either fully commit or back away. I think sitting somewhere in between would have been the death of them. Probably a good choice.
عادي هلا لانه مشتبكين بلزق بعض كل السكوادات.
Gonna be trying to do that. Stay on kind of duty here. Make sure
جنب بعض والله.
it's slightly more tricky. Great position scout. I've got to say for Liquid, that little plateau was gorgeous. Very, very well handled there. And you saw the kind of migration away from Los Leones. And I think it was DA who took over the garages on the way out. Everyone else had to go further afield, and it's heroic. Now, a lot of teams are already in position. Red line, the ones waiting on the ridge further ahead. Iver's
We not
there,
get
so
nothing.
careful
شو
now.
قصدك؟
You're gonna have Page, Beamy, Vaz
Red line
going
والله.
towards this, and it's certainly a little risky.
توزعين توزيعة بنت لذينة.
The second exhalation, they've got a couple of nades here. Salek just ticks it on the first vision in case they
هاي
don't.
جهز له النيد
But
شفتها؟
they are pre-nades. Didn't get him timing just right. Boom does find one. This is a shot.
اوه شلون نزل؟
That is help from BBL.
من بعيد من بي بي ال.
Heroic doing this damage.
Vasco's down. One good nade onto the vehicles would be disastrous. Marco's already sending them out, but it's a different team altogether. It's Exhalation trying to hold them back for now within the smoke. If that bounces perfectly, it could land it just outside of the window. Dabu meets up with his fallen comrade, be able to get back on his
يا رب فوق يا رب فوق كفو فوق.
circle.
ايه حصل رجعوا بين سكوادين. لازم الفايف هلا ينفنشون هلا ناو.
Stronger with every single maneuver we do on this circle. Ends forced to move. You have this horrible road that they have to cross with two teams either side.
لانه راح يبشلهم الانس بعد شوي.
You take the eastern band, excuse me, the western band, you're going to be hitting straight into the
يمكن MTN كمان. سيرياتين. STC. شو MTN؟ حدا بيسمي حاله MTN.
For everyone now that's not within the circle, the entry points are very, very limited. It's even harder down towards the south because if you don't get chopped up by phase, you get the other 50% of AA. After all, they've split themselves into two different teams.
يا رجل اذني عم تخرج دم من صراخة. والله إن جد صوتي عالي. انا بحس صوتي نايس باللايفات. خلص نوصل المايك شوي. بعيد انا مع انه عن المايك. منيح ملازق بالمايك. هيك احسن.
SMB even throwing down shots. Redline had nowhere to go. There were two lanes
دوبي
from
نزل
this
واحد.
area, and Skade, Liquid, VP, and Navi controlled
من
too
مين؟
much of the
من ريد
territory.
لاين.
And even RTG sending a shot from a
No.
mile away to claim the kill, and QBE's left out in the open. He's got nowhere to go with this. Trying to do what he can maybe, but heroic. You're gonna have T-Bone, the last one alive as well. So all these teams just
هيرويك هذول
feeling cold
الاسبوع
today.
الماضي
QBE
كانوا الاول
gonna
مدري الثاني. شو صار له الاخير؟
Stringer Rosie stays unnoted. T-Bone carries on forward.
It's not bad plays, it's not poor decision making, it's whatever you can do. If you're not with inside the circle now, this is just the telling story of what's going to happen. It's so hard, it's so condensed.
Liquid
so
انفرم.
compacted with players. If you weren't in that previous push,
الهيرويك
probably ain't going to get very
فنش.
far. We've still got Mutant, DA,
اشتركوا.
SMB,
متفقين
BBL
هذول.
and Exhalation. The head of that fight also needs to
عرفوا
conclude.
تيمينج.
Still
لازم
plenty
يتقلع
of
الليكويد
teams that
يلا.
have got to work their way forward, but ultimately they will probably all be falling on the same sword.
Yeah, I don't know who's going to make it out from this eastern side. You can't just head west. I think you either have to go a long way around, tank
Liquid نزل
blue
واحد
damage,
من
do
BB.
something. Yeah, because right now this is what
Mixi.
happens. BBL, one of the further out teams, going to try and make a stand of it, but they get absolutely peppered to pieces.
اكس نزل كود ماركو. كود ماركو الاسطورة نزل.
BBL, the rest of them heading
لا
right towards
فنش
Liquid and
كمان.
Heroics. Say the name. And now here comes Smash, here comes Mert. T-Bone's there, going to make the first
ميرت
Good work
نزل.
from T-Bone.
لا.
But look at the HP, he's left on 1 HP.
فنش.
A strong breeze might have
وهذا
it down
تفنش
now.
كمان.
Send a nades over,
عم
kill
يصير.
the teams will send it. And now the rest
Smash,
of BBL,
ضل
what is
Smash بس
remaining is
BBL.
Smash, and he's just living in the shadow of the vehicle, hoping no one notices. Here comes Exhalation, they're attempted. SMB's on the way as well, they've been found by DA.
قالت
As
بيضل
said, no one's
السيارة
making it
shadows
past
of
from that
vehicle.
eastern side.
تخبي.
Clib's starting to pop off.
يظل
Bex
السيارة.
continuing
هاي أول مرة
forward.
بسمع
Alio with
بهيك.
the flush. I don't
اصحى
know if
معلم.
anyone's gonna make it out of here.
ار تي جي لساتهم بالزون. الانس ما بش من عندهم لحسن الحظ. الام تي ام راح يبش من جهته أكيد، يا اما راح يروح لعند الفايف يا اما راح يروح لعند ار تي جي. هنشوف.
They have the safety nets and they've all just been whipped from below them. Liquid did have the beautiful little ridge line they can work off the back of. QBE goes down, zooms there, but
ريد لاين جي جي.
Icy
اي والله
instantly
جي جي.
responds in kind. Red line eliminated. Hero instantly to zero, but what can you do in this type of
BBL
circle? What
كمان.
can you do when all the ridge lines are already been
بي بي ال لسه واحد
around
عايش
Icy?
متخبي تحت
That's a big
ظل
impact for
الشجرة
the
مثل ما قلت.
Tulins. Down and out we go, the nades will finally go up.
الدي اي بش على الفي بي.
That could be a belter. It's forced
مواجهة حلوة راح تكون.
by the molly as the smoke will go down. The rest of VP has to rally the troops and get involved in this one. Bard's there, Pixel 2 at the door, and they can shell some more blood. This is going to be problematic, but look at that from the distance instantly. Spyro attempts to go out and give
BBL
some
تفنش
to his
هلا.
teammates.
مش
Gets
قتلوا.
battered from afar. This is
ضل عندك
this is
13
not going to
سكواد.
be easy for any of
راح
these
يموت
teams
سكواد
to
هلا
move
اكيد.
across. That southerly
Yeah, I mean-
easterly side. I mean, ends have actually out of
اوه
Ends have
مبينة
already
انحسمت
exited.
للفي
They
بي.
are safe for now.
خلاص.
same with
اوبا
like
نزل.
anyone sitting on the outskirts on the west is happy. This is like the next layer of this. So we saw
اوبا
the first
انحرق.
couple of teams trying to move forward and they hit that first barrier. Now some of that barrier needs to move into Navi and
والله ما
Stave.
بتعرف
They're dealing
شيء.
with
اخذوا السيارات طلعوا. لا غباء هذا.
between Liquid and FaZe.
والله مو
Liquid
غباء.
actually
انا
maintaining good
بغبي.
positioning here. They've been kind of putting
نزلوا
more
درايف
on
باي.
calm
بس
off
يعني
a bit.
مبين راح ينزل
This
واحد
good
منهم
in this game,
بالسيارات.
man, but VP making a run for it. They've got to. They're
نزل
trying to
لو.
look towards that next circle. It's either now or never, and it's might be
كله
now.
عم
At this
يضرب
point,
عليهم.
Skade just putting everything they potentially can towards Perfectix, but he's still cooking. Spyro, same thing. Clip finds Lazar.
بليز
Liquid
تفنش.
still just trying to clear
الاتراك
through,
طلعوا
but
من
keep in
الجيم
mind
ها.
they are not in the big
للأسف.
circle. Where someone like Skade and Navia is where the next position is for them, and now Mutiny's going to fly on in as well. Everyone is on the send here. Pixel still left behind. That's something for Liquid to worry about if they don't clear him out soon. FaZe did shuffle off though. They found placement, but it ain't safe. Just look at example.
Different angle, different team. Example, peppering.
اوه كله دق بكله ليك والله على الزون.
Ground away from FaZe.
شلون انحرق يا عرب.
To the flames, nothing he can really do outside of all this one. Rather
الدي اي طلع.
himself down than another team.
طلع
Small nade over
10
the side,
سكوادات.
smokes it down. If it lands in a weakened position of
Clip.
those players, Clip goes off again with the AWM.
ام تي ان شكله جي جي
They can
كمان.
push this now.
Doesn't do all the damage, but
لا لا
keep going
معقول.
up and you are
والله
absolutely
ايه
correct
ايه
with that
غالبا.
knock onto Skade down by the shack. This opens things up for a little bit on Liquid's side because remember VP's not down here anymore. No one's behind
Exactly.
them.
الليكويد
Full
هدول
angle, completely safe.
على الاس كي
All
بي.
they have to deal with is the problem at hand, which is Skade.
Now that ridgeline
الزون
say 5 might have vision. I'm
حرقته.
seeing if Navi overextend to punish
لا
this.
انا بهدو. سكر الزون. وين الزون هلا؟ ورجون الخريطة.
So little. Now they are in. It ain't safe. It's not pretty, right? It's on a knife's edge.
دي
They
ايه
are living
بطريقة
so
رخيصة. جي جي ايه
vicariously
والله.
through just kind of the one piece of the hillside. Being, how is he seeing that?
هن راح
Just
يفرطوا
smoking there, he's
بتوقع
just spamming
هذا.
away.
سكواد
Getting
جديد هن
tags
عملوه.
galore.
والدي ايه يعني
Is
تبنت لعيبة
barely
جداد.
breathing.
كانوا
He
البي
was
بي
back
ال.
to health soon enough.
البي بي
That
ال هم
initial
كانوا
knock
الدي ايه.
gave them the room to move up. It kept them alive. But now the
وعملوا
circle
يعني
goes
عملوا
away
شيء منيح
again.
اخر فترة.
The next hurdle
بس هلا
presented.
البي بي ال
Actually,
اللعيبة
they're
هدول طلعوا من
really well
دي ايه.
ahead. They've actually got a good position.
دي ايه
to
جاب
hold from now.
لعيبة
Navi
جديدة.
looking probably to clear this. They can pinch towards Liquid. Liquid are in all kinds of danger. Anonymous getting tagged up too. Good
يعني
catch
كانت
of the
دي ايه
nade.
تركي. هلا
Puts
صار
Jeeves maybe in a bit of a bad
ما بعرف.
spot now. As everyone else waits
مشكر.
patiently, does Mexi work this out? It looks like he knows there could be pressure from this side, already considering the ridgeline. And yeah, you're going to see the attention split in two halves. Great work from Liquid to even make it to this
البي
point
بي
so
ال
far.
انه السكواد عملوا لحالهم يعني سكواد ولا شركة راعية لهم ولا ما بعرف. بس يعني معروف بأوروبا مثل عنا العرب احنا كل شيء هون في شركات راعية وفي ار تي جي. ار تي جي قتلوا بيزا. قتلوا بيزا. قتلوا واحد من ليكويد. هاي من بعيد. نزلوا ميكسي كمان. لا ما نزلوا. كان بده يسروا هيك. امتي ان خالص السكواد كله بالنيدات بس. ليكويد طلع. باي باي.
Onto Pokemon, that's by the church, somehow by hook or by crook. FaZe managed to slip into the ditch directly in front of the church. Now, the one thing to know from the Liquid fight, you could tell how the economy was and how many fights Clip was bandaging away. There was no, bar a few mollies left. Lethal you
حلو النافي راح يدقوا بالفيز. يلا التهوا اتركوا الار تي جي المهم انسوا لي اياهم.
knocking players on Liquid unfortunately just
خلوهم لحالهم.
ruined them as they were trying to take the fight up against Skade.
انتهوا ببعض.
It was a little rough and rather unfortunate with 3 teams having a full eye line into it. But the team out of all of this that somehow managed to survive with
انا بدي الشباب يتعلموا كيف ينفذوا بهيك لحظات، يعني يكون اكثر من سكواد جنبهم وينفذوا يعني يقتلوه باللحظات الضغط يعني. بس تعلموا هاي الشغله خلاص امورهم تمام.
It baffles me. I'm still amazed.
يصيروا بيسيطروا على اللعب.
We'll do that. We've had 2 games now with mad individual plays. We've had
حلو
Dex
حلو.
man on the screen. Not
نزلوا له الدكس، هذا لعيب دكس.
I don't know if I just want to give credit to Liquid
إذا
to be able to
نزلتوه
deal with
خلاص.
Five and Dex so handedly so often
الفايف
in,
فرط.
you know, Pachinki and Picardo. But that guy is sick. He's straight up nasty player. And then we just see an example.
هيك هلا تاركين الفايف، شايفين يعني انا من الاول عمول لازم ينزلوا
Now, who's
الفايف.
still alive in this? We have Navi, VP, FaZe, and
بس
AA5
هن
and
خايفين
RNG.
على
And speaking of Ents,
يموتوا،
there they
عرفت من
go.
الاول.
Gonna try and get themselves away from that previous position, and she's Cobra to find Pokemolodoy, and suddenly the headshots rain in from RTG.
بس
And
حلو
Infectix as
نزلوا
well.
واحد
These
من
are
دي
the
بي.
teams that may be standing in their way if they try to make it across that roadside. That could be deadly.
That's the thing for VP, they can't show
كوبرا نزل واحد دي بي. رجع فنشوا فنش
Yeah,
هيك.
you can't show your face. Look at how many different angles
إيه
they're
فنش.
going to be holding up on the
كفو
bridge.
والله.
Look at how many different teams still have to get into the circle. Face clamp.
حبيبي يا وليد شكرا على اللايك.
Hold it. It gives them a safety net to teams further north of them. Ents would be a big problem. Navi's going to be a big problem if they decide to chime in on it. However, Ents and after all might just deal with themselves individually and each other. Bullets keep on going. Digger it answers back. Good old nade onto Pokemon. Finally go down. Third time, so probably not.
يلا شباب لازم تصيروا كلات هلا ولا مو مبينين عليكم.
Answers back and responds. Goes for the feet. The trade out. The switch is there. Tiksu and Rustamar have to do a hell of a lot of work to be able to.
حلوة البشة هي. هاتوا ببعض الشباب. الانس تفنش. لا كل السكوادات عم شجعهم تفنشت الا الشباب تبعنا. شوف والله شباب نزل 3 يا الله يا الله ليش طلعتوا بالسيارات؟ ضل بي نار. فنش الفي بي هو فنشه. كفو كفو يا رب هي للشباب. لا تفنشوا شباب. انا مخربط شكلي. الانس لسه ما تفنش. ما تفنش انا خربطت. فلشوا له بين حرام كيف هيك؟ لازم يركبوا سيارة بهيك لحظة. الحل كانوا يبشوا على الفايف. ليك الفايف كيف أخذ موقع حلو؟ هذا الحل. إحنا بشوا بالجهة الغلط صراحة. بشوا على الجهة اللي فيها 50 سكواد.
Look who's diving in. Navi, see weakness, blood in the water. They're gonna flush. They're gonna just sweep on through. This is cruelty for FaZe at this point. Here comes This is the last one alive, and he's done for. A lot of teams left though. Well, lots of players in these teams still left. 4 of them standing for 5. 3 for Ents, 3 for Navi, and Navi have the high ground. Rich.
يس هي كمان يعني الزون كلبة كانت. يعني هون في كفرات تحت ما في كفرات. مش جهة تبعنا.
You'd have to anticipate maybe they go for a few meds off the bodies of FaZe, but they shouldn't have any utility at this point. They committed so much to get into the position they were in. Through AA, survival against Navi, like, they've been through the ringer. And now with a bit of a few bullets here and there, the pressure's good. No knocks, but the pressure's been enough to force Navi's hand back. So they've got some time, they've got some space. But they will hold the deeper
ناوي
angle,
مركزين على
right?
الانس.
They're not going to
ناسين
let that
الفايف.
stand there. They will not let this deeper angle be left unchecked. So for Ents, the only way to get to them is to either get a really good solid knock, you know, just one dink, one headshot, or take it to them head on. In which case,
also الانس
you've got
شكلهم
5 who
موقع
basically
بيهون.
just setting up a musket line to fire into both of these teams. All 4 players are in a line on the ridge line. If any of these 2 teams expose themselves, they're dead.
Five really have a good shot at this. Like genuinely.
حرام
Just
حرام
that
ان
Dex
وصلوا
pop
لهون
off.
الشباب
Now
يعني
they're
لازم
actually
يجيبوا
winning
وين.
position.
الجيم اللي
Some
بعده
kills
وين انا
this time
متأكد.
around, but that doesn't matter. This could be their chance to really push it further forward. But can they do it against some very experienced players? Keep in mind, Ents and Na'Vi are very veteran at this point. We haven't seen 5 end game very often. I mean, if at all, no disrespect for them, but let's see what smokes they go for. Nice deep smokes and mollies, going to try and define the battlefield to favor themselves. Looks like it's maybe exploring the idea of working the ridgeline. See where Tixu is, maybe towards Dex or Naz, but it's not easy. A bit of a line of sight maybe found there for Rudy towards example.
It's the only thing for 5. You have to pick your battles here. If you start going after Na'Vi, maybe Ents takes the opportunity to jump in you from one side, and same principle idea. Go after Ents, Na'Vi swings round. There's still 6 players, and if you want to kind of calculate like that, it's a 6 versus 4, essentially. Unless Rustamar jumps over the edge first. Bullets go down. Flash banged up
The
and pulsed
timing.
against the...
It's very different, the timing. Like, 5 used their smokes very early, and now you're seeing Ents and Na'Vi using theirs. So I feel like, when I look at experience, I look at these boys, but the Molly still caught Alia. He can't do much about this. He's burning. He can try and get a heal off, maybe? But I think he might have just stemmed the bleed for now. It's still okay, and Na'Vi and Ents are just trying to live beside each other, be that third team to the fight, and they found one. Naz has now been located. No trade back either. They're in smokes. They're just working their way around, and we bring up experience, right? We bring up the ability to have this experience in late game circles, and Na'Vi and Ents will have that in droves. Now Melman playing very passive here. Couldn't find a way forward. Ents sweep through very well. Nice work for Diggory. He needs some help though. He's only going to find one, and there's example again. This man is a living legend right now. The 3v2. Na'Vi being swarmed though. 5! Absolutely kick into gear and find the final
شفت
play.
مين جاب الجيم؟ شفتوا مين جاب الجيم؟ والله حرام لازم كانوا يفنشوا الفايف ار بي جي. كانوا مفنشين وكانوا هن جابوا الجيم. ما بعرف ايش. والله صعبة يعني ما بعرف. يمكن كانت صعبة عليهم.
There's this point in my mind where I think, why didn't you do this earlier? As things now start to kind of fall into place.
This is insane.
Within this lobby, it's definitely a massive jump up. Let's be honest.
إنك تاكل أنت عم تشوف الجيم.
This level of European play is a huge step up. But ultimately, we're seeing signs of life, and we're seeing signs that they can play to this level.
They absolutely can. That's a big proving point. Able to make themselves the third team to the fight there, even though, you know, again, just kind of forcing that scenario. Very well handled, very well done. So let's hand it back to the desk to kind of break down everything that just went on and what that means for the overall standings.
Yeah, 5 managed to take a win here in a situation where we talked about this for the last 10 minutes. We hate this terrain. It's so hard to play. But coming out of the rainbows, it's actually quite rare that you manage to survive that, Toby, in this situation here, because you have such a big open space in between the ridge that you have to play and where you kind of attack. But it worked out for them.
Yeah, we saw real early game their vehicles were busted, so they couldn't use those to kind of transition that no man's land. So their timing was great. I mean, they didn't have to do all that much in terms of kind of staying put in the circle. Of course, know where your opponents are, and then in the end of it, know when to try and make the run off. And they did exactly that. They knew when to run. They knew that Navi was fighting over the ridge line. They had Virtus Pro earlier in that area as well. So with having seen all the teams go down towards that southeast side, they made a good decision in making that run when they did.
And they take extreme measures to try to survive as well. And the smoke and utility usage here in the end high bucket, that was actually really nice to see how they were trying to kind of crowd control each other.
Yeah, it was. I think Na'Vi were trying to make Ents think that, you know, a couple of them were advancing along that ridge or along the ditch. I say that should say that goes downhill.
Right.
Unfortunately, Ents able to just hug that edge with the circle, kind of allowing them a little pocket of safety to play. But then actually, example completely flips that team fight on its head. Ents actually get the opener to start that fight, and then it's actually example that turned it back around and Alia to close it out.
Yeah, and then obviously with the timing, they just have to rush there, and they managed to get it with 4 kills only. I think that's the lowest chicken dinner we've had so far in PCS4 here, Toby.
Yeah, I mean, every single time they try to peak aggressively in the early and mid game, they were receiving headshots all over the place. So I respect them maybe sitting a little more quiet as the circles kept going in that direction. But no, I mean, as you were saying, I think this new format has brought a new way of using utility as well. We've heard different people say utility is key all the time. And now we see these situations where instead of you trying to kind of block off angles to take fights, you kind of block yourself off to hope that the opponents take fights. They almost had a smoke line perfectly set up, but it was for ends. Like Na'Vi threw a smoke line for ends to make the run down towards 5, which unfortunately, as I said, didn't really end up happening. But I like the idea of trying to force fights with other team. You can see here 5, just 4 kills, but still, in the end, it's all about that chicken dinner.
And what I really love as well is the kind of the bluff with smokes, right? Because you commit a really good amount of utility to that Hypoc. You see with the stun grenades going there, you see the mollies, you see the nades go into the smokes because they expect them to be there that early.
Yeah, and I mean, especially with these end games where there's 3 teams up, right? It's not necessarily one team of 4 in a dominant position. That's when the utility kind of just becomes a stalling game, right? It's ultimately, if you're the last team to have to commit the majority of your utility, you're actually in a really, really good spot. Example, actually knocking on the door of the 1K club there. With damage to that, and it's no surprise. I mean, this is a guy that's been so impressive throughout PCS4, time and time again, just coming up in insane individual circumstances and making huge plays for Na'Vi.
Yeah, there's no denying the mechanical skill of Exam for sure, but I also stepped up in this one here. 7 kills for him, and they had 12 in total. I actually believe it was only Example and Elia that managed to grab kills in this one here, Toby.
Yeah, it was a pretty wild end game. I'm not sure exactly how some of the teams that managed to get into that position did just that. I mean, I like the way how when FaZe, also a team that managed to cross over, get themselves into a decent spot. Once the fight escalated on one side, Na'Vi knew exactly where to be at the right time. And that's what you see. I mean, we talked about Liquid yesterday and how quickly they convert ideas or thoughts of what to do into actually executing. And Na'Vi, they knew exactly when to go, and they did it at the exact right moment. So unfortunately for them, weren't quite ready for the complete onslaught of 5 pushing over the ridge there in the end, but solid play from them nonetheless.
Yeah, congratulations to 5 with their first chicken dinner here for this one. We have 4 more games to go, 1 more mirror round. We're going to be right back after the short break. And welcome back to PCS4 Europe Grand Finals. We are 32 games deep here, Hypoc, and we have 4 teams that have taken half of the chicken dinners. It's Redline, it's Afterall, it's Team Liquid, and it's versus Pro.
Yeah, it's getting. I mean, we look at the overall again. This is going to be really interesting about how far we go down the tiebreakers if it comes to that. Again, there's only a couple of teams really that can contest each other. But just coming back to that previous game of obviously Na'Vi not closing out. This is one that they've got a win on the board already. And kill count wise, once again, Liquid posted 7 kills if I'm not mistaken in that previous game. So it actually makes it very, very interesting. You can see here actually, look, it's Liquid 2 wins, 45. Redline 2 wins and 42. And Na'Vi actually now with that previous game put themselves right up there again. Operate on the basis that the average win is around 8 kills. This is a really good spot for them to be in, even though they didn't close out that previous game.
they're sitting pretty damn comfortable. But this is massive. Like there's a huge difference if you manage to get second, third, Toby here. If Liquid manage to close out, they can close out on $20,000, and they can sit themselves in a top 3, top 4 situation where they manage to bag a lot of the PGC points.
Yeah, exactly. That's I would assume what their eyes are on right now. We gotta secure as many points here as we possibly can. We want to get that seed for the tournament at the end of the year, and yeah, I mean they're on a good run to do so right now. Still more games to go, but I think right now, I mean, our eyes on Virtus Pro, where will they end up on the leaderboard? Because the further down the list they go in this week's performance, the more teams will have chances to try and race for that first place spot in the tournament as a whole.
Yeah, and with that as well, I kind of feel like from what we've seen from these two games here, Hypog, is that it's a little bit slow and steady. They're coming in a little bit more passive. It's not too much focus on kills, and if they continue that kind of style, I don't feel like we could see them maybe close on another chicken dinner for these last 4 games here.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to look back at both games so far, because I think actually across the board, teams have been a little more aggressive in at least the early to mid-game transition around that circle 1, circle 2 sort of time. So it's interesting to see actually a little bit of a shift for some teams, and then other teams maybe taking a step back and maybe wanting to get a better read of the situation or a read of the lobby, and how things play out towards, circle 3 and 4.
Yeah, and also considering how Navi played, if they're able to close on a chicken dinner here, we're going to have a big tie as well. BBL potentially could also take one, and that's where it becomes a little bit more dicey for VP potentially, Toby.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, right now they're sitting 4th. If they fall just 1 spot down, there's going to be at least 2 more teams in both Navi and Heroic who can go out and grab themselves the win of the tournament overall. So it's that 1 spot. It's that 1 spot up or down. So unless if VP can clench themselves a win soon, I would say, with more and more teams that we haven't seen wins from trying to, like, now coming up and stepping up to the plate here, that's going to be a VP maybe going out a little more aggressive than what we've seen from them today. You said it as well, Martin. They're playing... You used the word scared. I don't think they are, but I agree with you. They're way more passive. They're way more passive than what we see VP do usually. So I kind of agree with you in that one.
Yeah, and with that as well, from what we've seen yesterday and today so far, Hypog from Navi, I could definitely see a win on the board for them potentially. And if, I kind of think that Navi could have the focus on VP as well, because they know they have this kind of gut shot chance.
Yeah, I definitely think that's a possible outcome here. I mean, for me, Navi need to put that win up early, though. I don't want to see it come down to the pressure games.
Completely agree. And with that, we have just 1 more game of Miramar. Bring us the desert, Pants and Sims.
Whew. Okay, 1 more time we go back in to the desert, and then Erangel awaits. And we've seen what can happen between the maps. As crazy as it is, we saw Liquid trounce, get those nice 2 first big dinners and then go into the greenery, and just kind of went missing for them. But, well, very surprising to see 5 now joining Redline. Up there is the winners of today thus far, and obviously 1 more spot to be had as a victor on Miramar. We'll have to wait and see who joins both of them. This once again starting off towards the northwest, heading southeast. I don't think anyone's going to be too upset. I want to see where Ents decide to go. Oh, they'll be fine. They're just straight out of the plane. Yeah, they'll be good. So, Rich, where does your mind go now? Because I think people are now waiting to see if VP suddenly, flip the switch, right? Do we see them come out all guns blazing?
In the regard of who we saw on the previous win for 5, coming into this with $0 earned in terms of total prize money, like this only, I think saying helping VP isn't really the exact best word to use, or best way of putting it, should I say, but it doesn't harm VP in any way, shape, or form. If anything, it keeps things neutral because it stops another competitor, someone like Navi, jumping up in a win. If they'd have got that, things start to become very treacherous, given that they're on 14 grand in total. So 5 actually winning that, denying, it denies FaZe a win. We're up there. It denies Navi a win. That's a big denial. Ents further afield. I know they're in 8th, but it's still someone within that top 8 placement. So yeah, 5 winning just kind of keeps VP stable. At least it's another team that's added onto the board. It's another win taken away from all the competitors that are looking onwards at their position. It's going to be probably the telltale sign on Erangel. and you touched on it, and you are completely right. It can be a night and day map for certain teams. Some of them flourish. Some of them do stupendously well, even to the point where it's like, okay, we just wait until we get to Erangel and we see what comes about us on that point. So maybe
Killer.
someone does be able to bang
Yeah.
two back to back, pull a liquid, get up there,
Could
get into
do.
the money, and cause grief and cause a bit of pressure.
Could do. Now, what I want to happen is we've had 2, now 3 similar circles. All right, player unknown, I see you in chat. Don't think I don't. I've got an alert on my phone. It's like, it's like the bat signal goes off. I'm like, aha, it's time. Give us a Los Leones, would you? Press the button. All right. I want to see the little capper in chat when it hits. If it doesn't, well, maybe the button's faulty. But let's add a little spice to that. Okay. So beyond that, though, it is again a very southern circle. Kind of a little bit. I'm trying to think. It's a little bit more eastern than the last, but not as far east as the first. But they're all extremely similar. So at this point, teams should be used to this. They should have it very much in the forefront of their minds how this plays out. They've had the first 2 to kind of get that feeling in there, get that motion. At least in their heads, that kind of, okay, rotation routes, this is what we like, this is where it went. Obviously, they don't know where the actual circle's going to go, right? That's the kind of beauty of this, but they've now been kind of getting accustomed to this area more and more and more.
For teams that like to start down south and loop down south, it becomes a little bit more easier. Someone like Redline, for example, after a win today already, this is their territory. This is where they like to play off the back of. This will be all the nuances that they're used to. They're going to have early aggression. Oh, he's no idea. Tries to just keep his vehicle safe and back it up. Not going to happen. Zoom. Remove from plate. First player gone. Final map of Miramar for PCS4 here in Europe. To wait it out until Erangel comes next. For now, QBE just stabilizes and waits it out. Daboom, probably not going to apply any pressure, especially with an AKM at that distance. It's good, but it's not that good. However, Exhalation have backbuild around this. The 2 players you can see on the map in the bottom right-hand side have turned up to the party. So maybe they want to show some signs of strength. Maybe they just want to get revenge on this.
It could be. Ooh, that's a shot. That one's gonna sting. Instinct needs to tuck his head right back down, instantly taken to below half HP. And they're close enough by that I don't know if they can share this sort of area. With Exhalation being so proactive and peeking this, they got to be careful now, because if they poke the beast, Redline might just turn up, right? Like, that's the difference. We'll see. And about what? Circle going to be moving in soonish. Going to have to start clearing the area. 5 and Ent's going to have probably the longest journey. Now, Ibis again delivers another heady. Man's got level 1 vest, and he's still just feeling bold. Level 1 helmet on the other side, probably the bigger problem, but they'll be okay. They'll try and work through it. Redline have now got all their players there too, which is the scarier thing here. There was, at the start it was just 1. Now all 4 are there, so trades are very much in effect. Now, beyond that though, wait to see who else joins. Okay, so Heroic on the southern swing. VP here, this is them kind of coming past. And probably like Monte Nuevo side or Picardo side, pretty more accurate for them on that main road up towards Los Leones, heading further east. Kind of taking their way past Navi. No one really popping shots yet. They might run into, I think Liquid might be in Los Leones at this point. Someone around that marker, maybe, but again, I don't think you drive through Los Leones and don't expect to maybe get shot. Rotations through that city are always treacherous, always dangerous. So for now, let's have a look beyond that, though. As I said, I think a lot of the kind of prime real estate, that south run of Los Leones, has been taken now.
But that's the thing, even playing front or backside Los Leones, it's viable. Because depending where the circle goes, you are going to be a shoo-in of it, because it's slap bang on the island. I mean, there could be some horrendous hardship down to the south, or even over to the east, which keeps all the water in play, but we shouldn't foresee it. I've said it now and I've jinxed it, so it's probably going to happen, but still, Los Leones is playable, so look for a few teams to, if not play the outskirts, play the kind of land around it. BP, a prime example of that. You have these little containers, these little warehouses and hangars that are doable. Got to be careful that they make presence and make themselves aware that Liquid is lurking within Los Leones. But again, it could be one of those where it's such an adverse play. It's like, ooh, didn't anticipate that. But still, you have to anticipate everything, especially with a city like Los Leones itself. Many of them playing on the backside of it. Let's take stock of that. A lot of teams premising that it will come towards the east. There is quite a large open area from just below Impala all the way down, to be honest. Runs through the middle between Los Leones and Puerto Paraiso, all the way down past the diamond and kind of looping back round to the backside of where VP is playing. But that's all lingering and all banking on that this comes towards the east. If it goes towards the west, things start to get a little bit messy. A lot of hard migrations will come into play. A lot of hard transitions, maybe even just giving it up to Los Leones and say, you know what, send it through the middle, hope for the best. And then you have Liquid capitalizing on that, potentially. If they go for the bottleneck, if they go for to stand their ground somewhere between that main roadside, it could be really, really good for them, racking up some of these kills and getting on top of it, and most importantly, having a good position in the circle. All ifs, buts, whys, whens, and will be answered in less than 1.5 minutes' time. For teams that are not within this one, 5 furthest away at the moment, all the way up north past San Martin, just working their way down. Back of Minas Generales, there will be a team within Minas, past La Bendita as well. It depends if Skade decide to set up shop or not on the outskirts of it. They could do. They'll be playing the numbers game, they'll be playing the odds. DA have banked on it. They're staying in the old Ents loot location out by the Impala fields in the very open areas on that main road that leads out the backside of Los Leones. Ents as a team. Chumacera, complete polar opposite end of where we normally see them.
Who do you think would win in a fight, right? Choco Taco, Wacky Jackie, Shroud, Wórzon. Who wins it? No,
Swedish
I
aggression.
do not think so. I mean, yeah. Do you remember that game with Andy Pyro? Like, it was. I think it was like Gamescom. We were casting that.
Duos?
I think so. Yeah. I just remember there being a circle on like the south coast of Erangel, and like they're in. Well, it wasn't like farm. It was like west of farm, I think. And I vaguely remember like either Wórzon or Andy like jumping out a window. Like that's literally all I remember. And I think we were casting it. I don't know. It's like a vague like I don't know, so it seems like a fever dream. And the reason we say this is we're 10 minutes in and one player I think has been knocked or killed thus far. It's a slower goer. Okay. We have a bit of an interesting shift here. It's a little weird.
It's going to make it really interesting given the position where it is. Alia will fall for Na'Vi. Vex finds him. And to really spice things up, we'll throw your promo code up top as well. Lauren, you're really good at calling these out. I'm not good. I'll let you do it.
Go on, give it a go. Go on.
YLG MJPNT5TJL.
Look at that. Lovely. Lovely. Great work.
I had to put a phonetic voice on then to
I know. You know, so when people ask you like for your phone number or something, and you're like in a work scenario, so you have to like do the. I was about to say my phone number. oh no! That would not have gone good.
Oh dear.
Not a great idea. Yeah. Right. So circle moving northeast. Basically, all that means is a couple of rotations are going to get tricky. There's still a couple of decent routes in. So again, you might see a couple of knocks. We did see, as I said, one other player being lost at this point. But beyond that, everyone's so good at this. Everyone is so good at these rotations, playing safety, kind of understanding, what's within reach, what's not, and kind of where to take themselves, right? It's, okay, well, is this enough of a priority compound to focus towards? Is this where, is it worth the risk of losing a player for this compound pickup or not? And as it stands, most teams are not. So at this point, we're going to have Ents on that long rotation through the north. We have FaZe and Na'Vi kind of locking each other on the southwestern entrance. But beyond that, I'm looking at Mutiny, SMB, DA, I think are the ones who kind of get the biggest boon out of this, right? They're the ones who are sat quite early on towards, as you highlighted, Ents' old school kind of like drop spot, right? The Ents compound sort of area. So they get suddenly a bit more of a say in the matter. Suddenly they kind of get a decent position to play with this more kind of like Impala-esque circle. So at this point, they can't be upset with that. They're pretty happy they've suddenly got a little bit more room to work with. AA working up the coast, phase starting to move away from Na'Vi, maybe feeling that no one's going to benefit from this, so we might as well move ourselves slightly further up towards that circle.
Depends if they had information of all the players as well. With the one that they knock not going down, it gives them the info that they're probably closer than what they want them to be, and dying outside in that position, nowhere near the circle, wouldn't really benefit anybody. It just slows them down in the long haul. Heroic eyes on the prize when it comes towards red line. That would be a huge scalp to remove. Almost top of the shop. Still kills difference between them and Team Liquid. Heroica team again. We needed to see wins on the board yesterday. It didn't come through, and they've only got 4 more games, including this one, to send it all the way to the top. I mean, to win it, they need to win 3, which is in 4. Not an easy task whatsoever. We've seen Na'Vi, the old Na'Vi with Senya and Besto. I think when we were casting, they won 4 in a row. It was a nasty frag of that boy. Circle.
Oh yeah.
Pops were between Impala and Los Leones. The hillside being pulled out of it. Everyone now dive bombing in center. This is the hot zone that we spoke about. Just below Impala now becomes prime position, but instantly it's jumped upon. 2 teams are there, and they're on your screen. D8 and 5. Naz, they are trying to burn him out from this. They've committed God knows how many to try and commit him to the grave. They want rid of him. Finally, he goes down. And actually just smashes a molly in his face for good measure. All right. Fair play.
Look, you wanna stake your claim in the land. You don't want to share. You deal with it as quick as. And they sent Uber to the case. But now look at Mutiny. Look at Liquid. They're all going to be heading down. VP are down here too. This is a mad rush just to try and get to this compound. Everyone's fighting for this one. Granula's the first one on the ground, but you can see the teammates flying by. Almost takes it out, but no. Batulin's still alive and kicking. But here comes the Liquid from slightly further afield. They get vision on this side. They're going to play down some fire. Spyro's the first one to get caught out by Leos. She was slightly off towards the open field, but Batulin's, Lou, and Perfectix are in the compound. They already kind of got the lay of the land here, but Mutiny are not down for sharing, it looks like. They want them gone.
Mexy's got himself in a position where he can get involved in this one, and bang on time, he delivers. Responded in kind, RTG.
Flushed.
Mexy mopped up with no chance of recovery whatsoever. He was out on a limb, a little bit disconnected from the rest of the roster, and unfortunately has paid the price. SMB, BBL, another catastrophic fight going down, but SMB has the upper hand in this for now. Metralius down, Smash bleeding out, drill through the window. Apocalypse says thank you very much. They secure it, but it's in very open waters. Not too much you can do with this. Mutiny, it's lost one, another's bleeding by the wayside. Batulins forced to hold the line. Melman goes down. Na'Vi losing a player. T-Bone, Heroic starting to come online. Aitzi up on top of the hill scouting.
اسفين شباب بس كان عندنا مكالمة. شاب صاحبنا عايز شغلة حلينا له الموضوع وتم بعون الله حل الموضوع بشكل كامل. ليش ما في صوت اللعبة؟
The end game potentially looking rather rough. Everyone's going to be dragging their heels, and I don't know what the economy or even the player base is going to be looking like when we get to that end game.
حتى انتم ما كان عندكم صوت؟
I do feel as this is one of these circles, right? It's why, you know, people who maybe don't watch PUBG often or simply don't understand this level, these teams are so good at finding space until there literally is none to be had, and the lobby then just explodes, right? We talk about like a powder keg, right? Where teams like Liquid, Mutiny, VP, we saw it on that road right there. It just instantly, there's not enough room to house these teams because they're normally so good at finding the space if there is any. So when it explodes, it does. The circle going to move now. It's going a little east. All right, SMB, loving life. Rip9's probably going to send right on over to the other boys, make sure they are good. Skade probably laughing as well. DA still solid in this, can't take it away. 5 in the northeast, if they're all 4, then I'd give them a little bit more room on that one. But teams in the south and the kind of, I guess, western side, a little bit of the north, are going to have a tricky approach. That road is very dividing. Very hard to move across from. Now, I want to see what FaZe do with this Mutiny, VP, Redline, Exhalation, Heroic especially. How do they find a way in here? There is a little bit of room, but not enough for like these 6-7 teams now.
given that the fields within there and all these little compounds already have residency. Redline just might have to send it in here from down south. Heroic's held up against it when it comes to exhalation, so if Redline can just avert the fight altogether. Oh dear. Example, it's not the player that you want within there. Doesn't quite make it 3. Either shuts him down, denies the kills. Might even be able to get the heal off on this. They realize Salik's there. They'll see the vehicle will page in all but a second, but he's got the DMR out. He's looking elsewhere. Salik unpins the nade. He gets the perfect toss. Page just might run on a landmine, steps up at the wrong time, tags him in the back. But now the information that he had has been given up. Exhalation have to fight this, but Beamy has a deeper angle.
Beamy's position is so solid. T-Bone now super aware of it. Instinct could have maybe thrown this off, but I think he's running it. Yeah, he's off. Beamy just sees him making a mad dash going, yeah, there's one of them trying to get away from him.
الRDG عند الليكويد والدي ام كامبرين.
And on the other side is Bogger peppering shots with the mini, catching him as he runs. Vasquez just running parallel with him. Has he spotted him on the prone there? I don't think he has. Without the x-ray, obviously it's very tricky to see. Vasquez leaning up and down, but it's T-Bone to find it. Instinct dead, exhalation gone. Where's that nade just come from? Hold on.
باي باي بي ان ار.
Just sent a nuke towards Redline. QB and Luca just playing catch over there. And Redline were a little further ahead from FaZe, so maybe FaZe trying to secure this around Na'Vi's remainder. Alia working in from the blue, going to catch Bogger in the back, and that's going to be a problem for AA. Bogger was kind of keeping maybe a little bit of a track of that southwest side, maybe keeping track of Heroic, and now they've lost a lot of vision.
Just giving up the vehicle as well, so it keeps Na'Vi mobile, or at least the one player of Na'Vi. Mutiny.
ليك على الفوت الشباب فاتوا الRTG.
Inside, you can see Perfect's arms are up in the air. Nades have been unpinned as well.
لازم يفوتوا على هدول السكوادات عم يشتبكوا.
Look at this, he's totally blind. He's no idea. Absolutely nothing you can do about that. Lou trying to just stay alive in the best way possible. Unfortunately, caught in the heels by the fire. The flames will lick away.
بلعوا الVP.
And VP go down in 14th. Circle updates. Alia and a car inside, Diggering. On the drive-by towards Rudy. Physics will try to answer back, but it's instantly denied. Ends just melt.
والله لازم يجيبوا كلات.
Yeah, you're not getting away from it. 5, not finding the same form as before. Ends getting a bit of revenge. The way that game closed out, I'm sure they're loving seeing that in the feed. Like, yeah, nice try, boys. But will there be any vengeance? Dex is still standing, and he has been the surprise element, the X factor for that side. Now the circle kind of once again closing towards SMB and Alia, that sort of position. Keep that in the back of your minds, but that western side is yet to resolve a mutiny. Very much on the edge of this circle here. They're going to have time for a res. I don't think they'll punish that directly, but here's D8. Taking on Liquid. Clip, though, still always good for a 1 HP.
هياكلوا قتل من كل الجهات كامل وباشين على الانتي ام.
Team eliminated now. And looking at ends, they do have Rudy and Dex up against them. The rest did come through. Rudy doing some damage, but look how much you got taken back. Dex, what can you do with this, bud? You were great before. You're going to have to be great again.
Redline going down. Heroic taking him out. That's a massive play from then. Instantly swinging on to FaZe in the kill feed. Pixel still here. While 2 of his teammates did go down, he managed to answer back onto Team Liquid. Fix and Itzy, the last 2. Excuse me, not the last 2. The 2 that have made it over here first, having to deal with the last 2 of Heroic. Beamy unpins the nade. Needs to try and find the angle. Flashbangs are already in. Nade comes across. Vehicle over. Nothing you can do about that. FaZe managed to take what is minuscule amounts of land playing off the back of containers.
حلو بي ان ار نزل واحد وديد نزل واحد.
Down towards the later stages. Couple of him sent over, actually finding the target, which is rather impressive. A second one's there as well. Thankfully, they're inside the container. A third and also a molly to boot could be damn good, but they want to shut this down. Fex is dragged away, unfortunately. It won't be without Page paying his life, but it does take FaZe down.
حلو بكسر كمبيوتر لفيكس.
Now who's left with numbers? Ents with 4, SMB with 4.
لا يلعن أخت السيارات.
Skade with 4.
ما بدي سيارات.
Okay, so there's still some big teams in this. You're seeing RTG moving as a herd.
لا 4 سيارات جنب بعض.
Kind of coming up through the western side. They do have Uber and Zhong.
إذا فجرت سيارة جي
players, again, can't say it enough. Nasty individuals. They have some firepower to them. Not great positioning.
لا
لازم يغيروا. I think Dex is going to vision on Uber here. Yeah, he definitely does. That mini's pinging. put him a couple of times, and I don't know if he's going to get out. No, he can't. He
نزلوا
can't
أوبا.
escape one or the other, really. Dead's got Uber. It was either Dead or it was going to be Dex. It didn't really matter which one, but RTG holding the tipping top of the hillside. Good nades. Not quite deep enough here.
ايه نزلوه ايه كفو. يلا هربوا هربوا.
TG find the final players from DA. Smokes are up on the hillside, but their position is well and truly noted. Further tolerance. Oh my god, Pixel.
I think
None.
I've lost my hearing.
Just a jackhammer, that thing, isn't it?
Jesus.
It's not what it used to be, but it's still a barrel's still a formidable weapon, whichever way you want to cut it. RTG just chilling for now. They're literally, I don't know what else really you can do without getting the vehicles now. They should have moved a little bit earlier. Good nade from good nade, excuse me. Good molly from Rustum Map.
حرقوه.
Burns out Dex and eliminates another obstacle.
على
RTG
بين
are in
إنس
the vehicles and they will be
و-RTG.
pushing it forward.
راح
They try and
تحرق.
get ahead of Ents, but the land won't necessarily be with them. It's very shallow ground to be playing with. Actually, the team with the most workable, let's say, not best, but workable, bar SMB who have the compound. If the circle's favourable to them, then great, crack on.
ايه قربوا شوي شوي يا سلام. سلام.
It's probably going to be after all. There's a couple little valleys which should keep them safe. And they'll come into vision now as we go over it. They can move forward and step up against it. And there's a little lip. that they
نعم
can
لا
play off of,
تبيك.
but they are going to have to fight both Ents and RTG or whoever's.
إذا تبيك تاكل أثر.
Yeah, whoever's the remainder, right?
Yeah.
That's the scary part. I don't know how you work that one out. I mean, Ents can do some damage, but the timing's everything. It doesn't leave them much time then to focus towards AA if they want to. I want to see what FaZe do with this. It looks like in the vehicles is the option. Now, keep in mind, SMB are safe. They have hard cover to play with. Alia's got a tree, but they're going, nah, we can't go towards SMB. Let's go over here. Nice ditch found. That ain't bad. That's something. It may be a
عليكم
prone
السلام
sort of
ورحمة الله
area.
وبركاته. هلا يا عبد
Maybe
الله.
Skate, if they
نور.
shuffle east, might get LOS on it.
لا لا
But
يلعن
also
أخ
RTG,
بالسيارات.
Okay, again, moving up, Alia's just like, please, dude, I'm more
ما
than
يبطل
just a
العادة.
tree. I don't need a whole team here. Leave me alone. But RTG gonna move up as well, find a bit of cover. But this, surely they're just super open to like 3 teams. I'm surprised they're alive. I
عن
thought
جد.
Ents would have perfect vision on this.
حتى
Maybe
المعلقة
SMB as
فهمت
well, but
إنه غلط هذا
definitely
اللي
not
عملوه.
good scouted position, and in they go. But okay, my fears do seem to be kind of accurate as Diggory's already found BNR, and you can see the nades just swarming in. Nades.
غلط شو عملتوا
Everything
شو عملتوا
they have, it's
بحالكم.
all going through. RTG are being mullered. Look at this, just ripped to shreds. One player alive.
اوه فري كيلز والله مثل ما قالت. عملوا حالهم فري كيلز.
From him. And you can see why he's prone down. Vest gone, helmet gone. He's just like, I'm just hanging out, boys. Circle up.
مفروض تفوتوا بلا سيارات. شوي شوي.
First time we get to see them moving up now, getting into that battle on the eastern side. And it's AA they focus towards. Some sporadic spam from Anonymous. Doesn't quite find the connection he would have wanted. And it's pretty much circled up. It's centered up. FaZe, good time to make that move.
The position that I was speaking about for After All to try and take a hold of and control. This lip is it's a saving grace for FaZe.
والله الحمد لله يا عبد الله. أنت
Gonna have to
كيفك؟
fight for it once again, same principle. Once Ents come over here, this will be prime position and prime territory. But now Skater in the back lines of After All, it's slowed them down, it's forced them away. Like, FaZe can be safe here. It won't be without its own risks, and they'll have to manage those risks accordingly. But what a play while all the action is going on just under the cover of gunfire to send the vehicles to this position. Map knowledge is absolutely prime in lobbies like this, and being able to move to a place like that you know you can reside within.
غلط بالسيارات عن جد وفاتوا لسنتر زون. كل السكوادات ضرب عليه.
Play from FaZe, it gives them a better opportunity than what they had previously. 2 members of SMB take the hillside, and 1 still remains in the front compound. 1 further back with the high building to try and get an angle. I want to know during all that chaos and carnage. I know.
خليني موت من الزون ولا موت هالموتة.
Frags away, but did people make note of his presence on his actual location?
I'm not sure. It probably was hard to tell in all of that mayhem. Good isolation there. Anonymous managing to punish a little bit of that deeper angle that Rustamar was trying to play with. Now, Ents need to move up, though. They still have to find that route, and they can follow the hillside kind of as they are here. It might tail them towards FaZe, though. So keep in mind that Gustav and 80, I think, are preoccupied with SMB. So this could be ENCE kind of walking in, not necessarily unconsidered, but maybe unnoted. We'll see. This is very much a couple of teams on the edge, and then maybe, I guess, FaZe and a little bit of SMB a touch closer to the center. This is still so tricky. Now, ENCE have started to warm up here. Like, keep in mind, they've been late game a couple of games in a row now. They get that, win under the belt, though. They've got a couple of kills to play with here. They could start maybe...
هذا إشراف عبد الله، أعطيتك إشراف
You know what happens with them when they start warming up, but
على
it's Gustav
التعليقات
to find
عشان ما حدا
now this
يبندك
opens
أو
up,
شيء
if
من
anything, for
المشرفين
ENCE
الثانيين.
to move in towards FaZe. They are just behind them now. It looks like it's go time. ENCE going to start the engagement. They find the tag, no frag. Looking for it now. Diggory finds 8C, and they're trying to locate the final member, Gustav. He's playing in that smoke very well here, but look at the gear that's left on Diggory. It ain't good. And the more he's burning, Squeaky, though, looks for him, tries to get the flush. He gets it. Diggory burning alive, still trying to do what he can. He's going to go down, surely. He's still standing, but so is Gustav. Gets Squeaky down. Spins around. Where's the others? Where are they waiting? Gustav unsure.
هي مشاكل قاعد يصير عندي مشاكل بالتعليقات فعلا بين المشرفين أحيانا والمتابعين العاديين. فمشرف معه إشراف دغري بيعمل بلوك للعادي. أنا ما بدي هيك يصير. فمن هلا كأي واحد يعني أي متابع غالي عليه بعطيه.
Keep moving them forward. Apocalypse yet to get into the fold, but
الغاليين عبد الله.
it might pay off if he can get eye line on the players. They're throwing these nades from a deeper angle. I think with how the hill goes against them, he shouldn't be able to see them from where he is. ENCE, however, could be on the chopping block if he holds that angle to the position. ENCE have got problems themselves, though. The smoke wall is basically being built directly towards them. If they stay quiet, they might catch. After all, completely unaware. First contact's made, damage is done. One of them has to hit the deck.
لا بس هون فيسبوك ما عندي ولا مشرف هيك. ما بعرف احط اشراف اصلا.
Paid off in a massive way. Detrimental though is the flashbang as 3 players are forced to hit the deck. Another one up and over, and his teammates there. Unfortunately, the sniffer dog is down and dead. The punishment will keep going. He has to reload. Tries to go for the swing or into his top 4.
Now what do we have? Escape with 3, make it 2. The spray coming out is so nasty from after all. SMB down to 2. There are just bodies littering the battlefield here. People taking casualties galore, and somehow Alia is still snaking away. Not sure for how long. He's starting to crest in silhouette. Zorf might see it. I think he has. Yes. Found the snake, takes him out. And now Skade trying to get the numbers back up, maybe get 4 alive if they can. I'm not sure.
والله كتير النقاط
SMB's 2
متقاربة.
players are quite well geared here. Keep in mind AA 3 standing, and circle positioning favors Skade heavily here, Rich.
They could watch all of this unfold and then turn up at the last moments to just wipe out everybody who's left standing. But how many's left standing is the question. Sakura's holding 2 towards the top. Pokemon dives on into the middle. Tries to take down Rip 9, but the instant response is there. Look at how much damage has been done, Zorf. Is maybe revivable, but it's whether or not you would go for it at this stage. No. He comes in, and after all come out.
صرت ايدك اليوم ليش خير شلون؟
Rip 9 and Laza.
شكله عظمك رقيق يا ولد.
Let's
لازم
see what you
تاخذ
got, boys.
فيتامينات.
Can you
فيتامين
pull off
د. اشرب حليب.
a bit of an upset? Now Skade, well,
شلون
they're
كسرت
both well
ايدك؟
geared, and obviously the numbers favor them. And look at Nookie already going on the kind of hunting mission here. Anonymous as well, closing that circle. And SMB, wow, this is rough. I don't know how much
سكليت.
Anonymous getting closer.
كسر ولا شعر يعني كسر قوي ولا شعر خفيف
I
يعني؟
don't know if SMB can feel the pressure, but I'm sure it doesn't feel good. Molly starting to litter the battlefield, and Sakura the first to really let the shots fly. Rip 9 creeping up, but keep in mind Anonymous has a deeper angle. He's isolated 1, but would you expect Anonymous? Where is the tracer?
كسر.
Anonymous? Hello?
جاب سنطة وأمورك تمام إن شاء الله؟
Surely you would have had that angle.
ما بدها سياخ بدها شيء إن شاء الله ما بدها شيء.
No response yet. Anonymous
إن شاء الله ما
keeping
يكون
his
بدها
head down,
حديد وسياخ
finally
وما
makes
بعرف
his
شو.
presence noted, and now the position is just dominant.
حلوة.
Of a win.
هدول فنلنديين.
Bodies in play towards the late game. They can throw themselves.
إيه ما بدها الحمد لله عندها بسيطة لك.
You go for the trade, you go for the refrag, and it's good. And Skade put a win on the board.
شهر يعني بترجع تمام.
Overall, what that's going to do to the leaderboards in tandem.
أنا انكسرت إيدي أكثر من مرة أنا وصغير. كسرت إيدي مرتين. رجلي انكسرت مرتين. مرة بس مو كسر تمزق أربطة صار أصعب لسه من الكسر.
who's trying to
وجع
get
صار
something done, but
اسبوعين
it's a
وجع
win nevertheless. And for Skade,
ما
you
بتحسن
see
تنام
these
وقتها.
moments, you see these times of
لحد الآن يعني
honest
بعاني منه
brilliance, to be
من
fair.
شهرين.
I just
نفس
wouldn't show
نفس
it more
الرجل
because the skill
كمان
level
عملت
is on
مشكلة
that roster.
بالأربطة وهيك.
It's phenomenal.
رجعت
It's a
حطيت
really
شد
good
وهيك.
roster, but we just don't ever
قبل
see
كم
it
يوم.
up at the top consistently.
Yeah, and it's always gonna be that thing. Consistency.
الجزء الثاني في عرب هي نفسها يا عبد الله. نفس الفرق بتلعب 3 أسابيع. هذا آخر يوم. نفسهم الار تي جي هلا ترتيبهم شي 14 13 هيك شيء شباب العرب. ان شاء الله باقي كم جيم؟ واحد لا باقي 3 جيمات. بس انا راح اسكر بالجيم الثاني او اللي بعد جيم او جيمين مسكر يعني اللي بس يروح على الشغل. بيضل جيم بتشوفوه على الصفحة الرسمية اذا بدكم ببجي. تكتبوها للعنوان وين على اليوتيوب اذا بدك. هيك هاي ببجي اي سبورتس.
But great to see them get a win. 3
طب
wins in a row now.
PCS4
over
Europa
teams.
Grand
That's
Final League
a
3
thing
day.
to note. I mean, they've been stepping up. 5 last game, Skate this game, and the game before that, Redline, of course, going out and performing as well. So pretty interesting to see how they perform. Maybe that's going to be the continuation of how things are going to fare today.
Is it the other teams that is trying to cement their position and just secure the points that they could get here?
ايه انا شفت شلون الشغل اليوم بالليل بيكون عبد الله.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's a case of that, but you know,
ما نتعود
teams like
نشتغل
Skate
بالليل.
coming out and finally, actually it makes it,
بس رواق
in my
بتوقع
opinion,
ما
harder
في
for
شغل
some
كثير
teams.
يكون.
Like I said, Navi, in terms of expectations coming into this, I would have liked to have seen them put up, you know, earlier as opposed to coming down to kind of these higher pressure matches, right, with fewer matches left. And
Right.
I mean, the only
رواق يا برو.
bring out of that is all of their wins so far have come from Erangel, if I'm not mistaken. So the fact that they've kind of trended pretty well on Miramar is definitely a positive looking forward.
For sure. And with this as well, obviously, is we were kind of talking about when it was happening. We're hoping for Alia to be able to kind of snake a win there, but there's just too much pressure on the northern side. And Skate managed to get off the rest there, Toby. So they were fall strong for the end game.
Yeah, it's a great game for them. And I think I mean
شهرت اسم القناة لأنه ما كانت عم تطلع بالبحث ورحت أعمل بحث لقيت في 1000 واحد مسمي نفس الاسم وعاملين القناة بعدي يا أما مقلديني يا أما ما بعرف هيك من عندهم. فقلت العامة شو هالقصة بدي لاقي شي اسم ما يكون يعني حدا مسميه أحسن لأنه هيك تصير القناة تمشي أكثر بتوقع. لقيت هذا الاسم ممكن غيره وارجع للاسم القديم بعدين يعني لأنه الناس عم تخربط ما بتعرف.
It's 47-46 kills for the two teams with 2 wins and 45 for Navi. So if they get another win, we're talking just a few kills. Whoever takes the win home.
Yeah, it is, and that's why.
مو أحلى الاسم هيك؟
Yes, we could say that the win is the most important thing here, but for these teams that are so close by and it's only a win.
فيني أكتب مثلا هنود جيمنج بعدين بين قوسين نو فير بيمشي الحال.
It's part of that contingency. It's the safety net, right?
Exactly, and right now Navi's actually 9 kills ahead of VP. VP's on 4th, and as you said, Toby, there's 3 teams within the striking distance.
تمام يا عبد الله خضر.
Also in terms of kills, it's 8 kills.
حطها كمان بالعربي مثلا نود جيمنج النود جيمنج.
Yeah, it's getting really close up at the top. We still have some teams that we haven't seen from what we expect to see, but I mean, I don't think we need it really. I mean, their performance is coming out this game from teams that we haven't really seen deliver all that much up until that point. Skate getting himself a solid win, good push there in the end when the first knock.
جايبين 7 نقاط الشباب.
Okay, maybe these guys have it. Maybe they can turn things around, but unfortunately, plays not quite the case there. They end up going down.
Yeah, and Skate obviously here with 7 kills. Heroic.
من الأول هيك لازم نلعب من الأسبوع الأول هيك.
Basically because of the terrain here and how everything worked out in the match throughout here, Hybok.
Yeah, I think it's we can say this is almost symptomatic of game 1, right? That mid to late game transition puts the teams in a very awkward spot, and it's a ridge separating, you know, being in control or having the freedom to play their space as a Skate fan. Up for there, but obviously tied up across all 4 kills for everybody on the kill leaders, and Diggory once again putting up some insane numbers damage-wise. It's been a struggle again. I mean, my biggest criticism in week 1 after that win was maybe playing things a little too.
دغري اسم.
Become more and more active throughout in terms of kind of taking these team fights and wanting to stamp their impression on some games, but still the wins eluding them, Martin.
Exactly, and even like if they managed to get just one win here, Toby, they would actually surpass VP as well.
Yeah.
They have 46
Yeah.
kills so far, 8 in the last one here. They could be fragging out again, so they managed to clutch a situation like that. That could be great.
Yeah, I mean, they had a good game last game. They have a good game here as well. They found their way into end game, but similarly to what other teams have been going through, once you make it to the end game, if you haven't gone through somewhat unscarred and unharmed, you're getting run over because there are those teams that have found the solid safe spot inside the circle. When they come pushing at you with 4 alive, no damage to the vest or helmets, all their utility flashbangs in hand, if you're only 2 up with a broken helmet and a vest, no matter how good you are, because the average level of every single player here is so damn high, you more often than not, you're going to go down.
Yeah, and with that, we're actually going to be ready for a short break. We have 3 more games to go. We're going to be jumping over to Wrangle.
يلا شوي انا بجهز حالي، بجهز كم شغله للشغل وبرجع ونبلش الجيم.
You've seen his name pop off quite a
Момент, Максизон заезжает в Венецию.
fire to go through.
It's all me, everything is on me, gon' back it up. Matter what, told you I'ma do me, why you hating on me, it's not adding up. I do roll like a Mack truck, country heart, I'ma cop a farm and go act up. Lot of scars, I was cold-hearted, now I'm backed up. Keep it real, I do this once a month, I don't rap much. I just take the money and go stack up, only buying car, take it tatted up. Add it up, bankroll, euro, peso, add it up, I'm just doing me, everything is on me, you matter what, told you I'ma do me, why you hating on me, it's not adding up.
Welcome back to PCS4 Europe Grand Finals. We are halfway through the day and we only have 3 more games to go until we find our PCS4 winner. There's obviously a massive amount of BGC points on the board, 450 for first place, and to compare right now, Heroic has 200 from ESL, so it's some, I mean, with 450, I would say you could probably qualify for one of the top 7 teams that is guaranteed here to go through from Europe, Toby.
Yeah, it's with Europe having 7 spots, I would be surprised if 8th would have that amount or more. I don't think so. I think if you win this one, you're through. That should pretty much be it.
And let's take a look here at the leaderboards for yesterday and today. So far, 2 wins. Redline 2 wins for Liquid, 1 for Navi, and so forth. But look at the kills, how close it is. And look at Ends as well. We have to look at that Hyper. 46 kills, 1 win for them, and they actually surpassed Navi as well.
Yeah, isn't I was actually just looking back through the kill counts. Obviously, week 1 was a very slow one for them. The 1 win 29.
Yeah.
And then the second week, obviously, they put up was it 56 in
56,
total?
yeah.
Yeah. So with 3 games left to spare, like I said, they are tracking a little ahead in terms of how active we'd look to see them in terms of the mid game and looking for kills, because previously we've kind of seen them just try to ride out this positioning. So that could be a really good look, friends, coming into our angle.
And kills really, really matter. To compare for week 2, actually, here, Toby, FaZe had 58, VP had 57, and Ends had 56. And there's a huge gap in both prize pool and everything, how much you gather from that. So you want to make sure you put as many on the board, obviously, but also you want to make sure you get the win here, because otherwise you could be sitting, be left out in the dark and be sitting on 10th place, even if you have like 90 kills.
Yeah, that's the that's the thing, right? I mean, week 1, we saw VP completely separate themselves in terms of kills, 94. In that week 2 was all about Heroic. They find 79. But we haven't seen that one team this week, and whether it's because of more and more teams starting to understand the format, or whether it's because teams are getting more and more frustrated or trying to play more passive, I don't know. But we haven't seen that one team that's really managed to separate themselves in terms of kills. And that's also a big part of the reason why things are getting as close as they are for pretty much everyone on the leaderboard. One win here, there could be absolute make or break for well, pretty much everyone. We just saw Skate jump from from dead last pretty much into 5th place. It's pretty wild how far up the leaderboard you can go and how many more points you can wrap yourself up with by the end of the day.
For sure, and also obviously VP, they are not fragging out as much as they usually are. However, that also means that there's more kills available. They're kind of calculated passive playstyle because they know like they are going to get third party if they get wrapped up in a like early game fight. Because as we also saw here in the last game, what was it, 1 or 2 deaths in the first 10 minutes? So they want to try to play as passive to secure that there are 4 guys left as long as possible.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we talked about potentially coming into this final week with maybe a little bit of a target on their backs, right? So
For sure.
it's no surprises that, you know, teams see them in the kill feed, they're gunning for them. And especially with, like I said, a few more teams now kind of trying to heat up in kind of that early to mid game throughout the circle 2 to 3 kind of transition we're talking about, where teams are actually more willing to take those fights over a particular compound, a particular piece of terrain. So that's definitely a consideration for VP because previously they were able to just, you know, run away with lobbies. Like I said, I keep coming back to that phrase of it's been way easier for VP to play that playstyle where they're just killing teams trying to survive, right? Now that other teams are looking to become more active and actually take a fight over those pivotal spots, it's become more and more difficult for them.
And it's actually one of the beautiful things that we see, Toby, from these kind of metas that develop over the course of 36 games, you know, coming into the tournament from PGIS, the teams that had the experience with the MC format, they were starting off really strong. We saw VP, we saw the other teams as well, but it's developing. And now we're sitting here last day and it's 3 open teams that take the first 3 chicken dinners of the day.
I mean, and that's a massive kudos to, of course, the players, but also coaches and analysts and everyone really working together to prepare these 4 players as best as they possibly can for the games to be played. It's phenomenal to me. It's insanely impressive how quickly teams can adapt to these curveballs being thrown at them time and time again. And we can just say it here. I mean, while we had a few teams that were really separating themselves early, with the way the leaderboard is showing right now, clearly the gaps have been closed in and teams are looking pretty even.
And yesterday we had some absolutely insane Wrangle matches. I'm not sure we can even get close to it. There is a bait and switch military to Matt, and I mean, let's just get on with it here because I think we're gonna have some really great games here in Wrangle. Take it away, guys.
With absolute pleasure. Yeah, starting out into the east and heading all the way across the west. Very central plane path here. A little, I guess, leaning southern, but not by a large margin. And you're right. Martin said it there, and I think it holds true. We had some crazy circles yesterday. Today, I'm sure teams want to almost have a little, maybe relaxation after that sort of madness.
You would hope so. It was a very crazy day, and we even alluded to it at one point. Oh, we've seen circles jump to the opposing side, and okay, never mind. It's only gone and done it. So we had absolute chaos in Erangel yesterday, but regardless of the chaos, people kept it controlled, and there was some absolutely sterling performances. One of them coming out of Redline in the end game versus Ents, which I still stand by. It Ents absolutely should have won. It was theirs. Redline jumped in, and it's ultimately led us to a point where Redline's in the driving seat here. So looking to see if they can do more. Final 3 maps, Lauren. A couple of teams that have well, I kind of say it, they've got to step up to the plate. It's a do or die principle now. We're talking, you know, FaZe Clan, got to be up there. We're talking After All, second coming into this. We're talking Heroic. There's so many opportunities to be able to jump up with the money, with the placements now.
Yes.
But very little time to get it done. And with all the attributes of every other team still playing and clinging on to that notion that you can get into the money, you can take home some cash from this competition. Everyone now is giving everything they got and just kind of throwing caution to the wind.
Oh yeah, and I'm glad the Death said it as well. I think highlighting that everyone is adapting now. You know, at first, obviously, there's a lot of kickback, and you know, at some point you got to just get your head down and grind. And some of the teams that are leading the understanding, leading the mentality, have been not necessarily stopped, but slowed down. You know, all these newer teams coming in, Scave being one of them, 5, picking up victories that have definitely surprised us, and they've looked good while doing it. They have adapted well. players, coaches, whomever it may be, has done wonders here. They've truly found ways for some of these players to get that comfort zone starting to build. And it's not a short process. It can take a hell of a long time. But they've started off damn good. So already, good beginning. Now that first circle comes in, Rich, we're going northeast. This is big opportunity for Ents, who've been quietly building in the background. You know, the wind kind of eluding them, staying away from them, keeping them at arm's length, but they've been starting to get a little spicier, starting to get a little bit busier. Let's see if we see that again here.
Depends whether or not they pull down towards the south and they want to take somewhere in the middle. Just make sure they're within arm's reach of wherever this circle may fly. If they come down further as Stalba, it gives them easy access to a great deal of places. The fact that the circle teeters more towards the east makes it rather interesting because you're knocking out Savernah, shooting range. Even, you know, the 3-stack, 2-stacks that overlook Rosok, there's a few buildings that we'd say, okay, well, we've seen a few places and positions that could be utilized and maybe even late game could come into effect, but with it being so east and big block of water in play, we look onwards of Yasnaya. You're not really going to be wanting to play further forward than that. That becomes your line if you cut it from north to south. Staying further towards the coastline between there and Yasnaya, you're going to be in a good position. Again, this is all just us, you know, ifs, buts, whats, whens, whys, maybes. We've no idea what the circle really does until some sort of land ratio comes into play for number 4. But it's all about getting in a point where you're in a comfortable position to kind of go anywhere and at least have some sort of response, some sort of answer to whatever the Erangel circle will throw at you.
Oh, no way. QBE. Just hearing vehicles pulling up. He's like, hold on. Wait, what's going on here? Now, we did see the VP and actually both Na'Vi did go for like a Yasnaya hold when there was like kind of a similar circle to this. I don't know where VP go with this one though. I'm kind of interested. They could tail up towards the kind of, I guess, the foothills of Stalba, if they fancy it, or maybe just the back buildings. I feel as though this circle kind of gives you not even a 50-50. I think a lot of the teams will sit around Yasnaya Fields. I think with Prison in here, with that chunk of land around Mansion, Heaven, those sort of areas, I think teams will trend towards that, but we yet to see. And it's quite late in moving. I was wondering if they were going for something a little bit quicker. Maybe move towards a compound sooner. I get a little worried if I see them being a little late to this. If someone else, you know, nabs it, we've seen it so commonly now, so clearly. These teams will prioritize taking compounds, right? Like if it's worth a send, if they see it being viable and it's something that could, you know, maybe give them gateway to late, they will happily take compounds now if they feel as though it's a priority. I'm looking at BBL and I'm looking at Ents here. And we'll see how close by they get because Ents were a little late to this, so there'll maybe be 3 there. And I'm seeing 5 moving up towards it as well. There is enough to share in this portion of the map, but it's not clean cut. And it looks like BBL have been at least warded away somewhat. I'm seeing the arrows turning the other way, so whether or not they're going to adjust positioning, we're yet to see. But keep in mind the Squeaky was slightly split from the pack, which can either be I guess, a blessing in disguise, or he gets picked up, knocked, and he's unrecoverable. It's one of the two.
You're right to make note of it. It's huge. Like looking at BBL where they were, it's like, okay, well, this is where Ents in theory should be. They've leaned more towards the coastal side, which again, they know better than us, so we'll see how it pays off. They've set up in a formation where they do leave that one player more towards the north. Squeaky can be a bit of an anchor point for the rest of them if they want to flex around him. If it does push to the north, banging. He can get straight into the circle and get them a good place. But it also becomes a prime point where that's prime real estate. You have Liquid yet to make an entry, Heroic, DA, Skade. After all, they are all on the same transfer path here. They are all going from the northwest now, just hitting the northwest edge of the circle below Savernah and still heading further towards that coastal road. Heroic could send it in around the pond, but the second you come off the back of the pond, you have that really weird open compound that's really flat with a couple of tier, you know, level 2 buildings, so to speak. After that, it's Yasnaya. Going and crashing into Yasnaya at this stage, not necessarily a death wish, but certainly a death warrant.
Beck somehow found Rudy on the way there. I do not know how he lands these, man. Like, they're carrying past this. Keep in mind that 5 were pretty much set up to catch this. Now, they've actually done a little bit of damage, sure, but they haven't been able to really punish as much as maybe they felt they would have. And you can see Gustav trying to get back towards the cusp of this hill. Maybe a punish towards Rudy. Yeah, it is. It's a straight flush, and he could maybe take the house off the back of this, maybe split it with the hillside, or simply see a 5 respond. Dex has had to fall away. They were in a bit of a 2-2, kind of almost a 2-1-1, I'd say, as Rudy and Dex were a little separated, but it has forced 5 into a more compressed area. So, as it stands, FaZe have kind of created space for themselves. They're going to be able to work further forward, a little bit further north, towards maybe Ends territory, Liquid, AA, DA, they're all heading up that way now. So, if this circle shifts north, if we get like a Stauber, this is going to be wild. Most of the teams are sitting south if you has Naya as it stands.
Skade, last team to make it in. Just south of shooting range at the moment. Liquid sneaking in on Ends territory. FaZe, actually, remember yesterday, they took almost the same trajectory path, and they did hit Liquid almost in a similar position and lost 2 players by doing so. Kameshki, after all, still going to be even later to actually this entire party. DA smack banging Stauber? Oi, oi, oi. Now the question is, does Squeaky's position be a huge, huge benefit to them? Or does he just die and become a Rezabel, in which case they lose 25% of their firepower instantly? Jimbo making note. Opts for the DMR, which suggests he's going to go for shots. Engines off. Xiong's just rolling it to try and not give away any information. He has no idea they are there.
Wow.
He was trying to garner information over the edge by doing the silent pull-up, but Liquid had already read it like a book.
Oh, they saw that a mile off, patiently tracking it, maybe seeing if anyone else was joining or if it was a one-man exploration mission. And maybe he gets the free upgrade. He's happy. Car gets to slowly roll away. If he wants to just nab it, he can. That's a car lost. And Liquid get to live in the shadows, sure, but they're not without threat now. So moving themselves back down. This is on the drive-by. That was Fex flinging off the cliff, but it was for the kill. That was to catch Rudy, and sometimes you got to risk it for the biscuit. And they've got it. So a couple more seconds till that circle shifts. I want to see where this goes. This can get quite defining if it's quite a polarizing shift, but it may not be. Let's see where this heads towards. All right. So quite north and very east. So this kind of creates a lot of room. I mean, Kameshki's still in, technically. I doubt it's going to stay in. But my, this is going to throw a loop. Who gets the big boy compounds? Okay, Ents should be happy. FaZe, I feel, has to bring themselves back together because they could get crashed here. AA's on the way. Keep that in mind. Now, look towards the south. This is going to be a big migration, Rich. Everyone's on the way, and they've already lost Batulins. Oh, no. VP are not going to be happy with that one.
Yeah, VP losing their team captain on rotate will not be great. And the problem is the deeper they go into the circle, the more teams that have centered up. Liquid regroups came down from the mountains. FaZe Clan almost doing the same, but they've gone for a 2-2 instead. Taking valuable land away. AA's there also. We need to be aware of that. Liquid, decent land grab also. This will just keep denying VP. It'll be like a ping pong ball. As soon as you get to one of these teams, you have to fling it all the way down to another compound. Taylor. Unfortunately, the running locker ups there. Probably nothing you can do about that when everyone is just magnetizing on the FaZe compound. It's a weakened FaZe compound. Let's not forget about that. The more pressure after all go into that, they realize that 2 of them are disconnected from the rest of the team. This fight still needs to come to a fray. Liquid versus Redline. Banging nade onto Ibby. He'll fall. Mexi now well up against it. Out. Oh my god, what an absolute perfect nade!
That's a heat-seeking missile. That looked like he knew exactly where to place it. Now, on the other side of things, Nailup's in trouble now. He's got further problems coming his way. He's not safe at all. If Heroics see this, that could be maybe a pickup in the backlines. Look at Vasku. He's driving on past. That could have been another player to add to the list, but as it stands, Liquid do hold. I want to see if they can get Ibby back up. If there's support there to do so. Nailup's got the nade ready. That gets posted. Ooh, careful now. Keep your head down, Mexi. You could have some danger here. And Zorf has just found Gustav. In the meantime, I did see that FaZe pulled their players across. So Gustav was kind of the most external player. He was trying to hold the extremities of the compound, but you can already see AA. They've got themselves right on in there. Vazku's been picked up. Gustav trying to get to safety. Maybe allow a rest to come in, and you can see as to why the nades. They're through the window. Fuzzface can't stop it. I don't know if they can get to Gustav here. He's making the run for it. He desperately wants to, But if they have a nade, a molly, here it comes, sent it in. Does it go through the window? I'm not sure. What I am sure of is that Liquid have just taken down Redline. So Mexi and Clip do keep this safe. A bit of utility posted, didn't quite make it through. Gustav stays alive, barely, and Fuzzface, the combat medic, gets him on his feet.
They did lose Vex. Let's make note of that. The rest of them are now forcing their way into that compound. And they will be trapped. It's a very small place unless you can take it out the back, which is a very, very obscure angle of approach. Vex did at least knock
إيه
one,
شباب.
slowed them down and forced the rest
آسفين على
of them
التأخير.
inside the hangar.
كنا عم نعمل كم شغلة.
Now Levi's on the end.
جهز حالنا على الشغل.
Someone wants to come a peeking. Liquid
نلبس كزان. نحط تنظيفة.
Redline, huge pickup.
نعمل أكلة.
Liquid being the second place
نشرب شغلة.
team. While this madness and chaos unfolds,
دم.
just give it a bit of a breather.
أوه كود. كود اجيت على الوقت المناسب.
Get the goodies.
هدي يا رب
Before we
لحقون
get
يا
the
رب
push and
لحقون.
the action will continue.
لحقته هونيك تويتش لحقته. إيه تمام. استنى لما
Pause for thought here. Circle.
Oh my.
Oh.
What in the world is that?
Look, it's been hot in Europe so far, right? So get on the swimming trunks.
No.
Get out, get a tan. Obviously, safety first, you know.
No.
Make sure you're nicely
That's not
distant
safe.
from people. I mean, from others, you know. And no, it's not safe because I don't see any boats around.
وشو له هاد لحاله؟
Boys, we're getting our summer tan on. We're on the beaches. We're having a great day. FaZe on the move, DA moving, Skade moving, SMB, and there is not enough here to keep these players safe. This is now fight for what you can. Take what you can. This is not going to be for free. These are fights for territory, and BBL on the move for it. They've decided, Ents, you're our target. We're going to take on two of you here. And they've at least forced them away. But fights further afield. DA having problems
ثواني
of
بس
their
بحط
own.
الكود
There
دغري
is nowhere
برجع.
safe to go. Player unknown. What have you done to these players?
اسف شباب.
FaZe gonna just try and find safety at the
إيه.
pieces of these cliffs. They were there earlier. It's been taken over by Mutiny. SMB found on the way by FaZe, by so many others. Mutiny themselves popping in shots, getting some flushes here. Perfectix do what he can, but it's not without return fire. Liquid on the pull up towards the beaches. Is this Medal of Honor? Am I storming the beaches right now? Like, what is this? Ibby now trying to use the vehicles for cover, keeping his head down by the pillboxes. You can already see Cliff's been found. This is a absolute massacre. Anonymous on the drive-by claims Mexi and Jeems, and now Ibby's the only one standing. Pops out an 8 to try and buy himself maybe a second to think. Pause for thought, maybe not. Anonymous in the open, forced out. He needs it. He gets it. Ibby stays alive.
Only just as the smokes will be there. Whether or not you can get Jimbo up's a different question altogether. Sakura looking at distance with the SLR, trying to just pick away at these final players. Clib, unfortunately, while he shot the driver out of the seat, the car smashed into his, and ultimately that's why it said it run himself over. His own car just demolished him. FaZe in a struggle. Cliffhanger currently unfolding before our very eyes. Death from above. Garula comes in and strikes one more surviving in the water's edge, but those shots, they're not from
RPG قريبين بس وين؟
team altogether. 5 looking to get involved with leaving Fuzzface out on a limb. I'm just going to sit in the cave, and honestly, it's the best pick of a bad bunch. Exhalation forced to pull up. RTG outside of all of this, they can kind of stay safe for now, but it
بديت سمع هدول اللي جو.
once the circle comes in and forces the move,
سفيون.
RTG have much more land to cover. They're going to strangulate them within that compound. Navi not inside the circle yet. They've still got to keep going with a 4-man stack and vehicles in abundance. Alia, he realizes time's up against them. Unless the economy is looking that bad, he's not healed. He's entering this with very low health.
Full send, baby. You got to do something. Finds a bit of cover. Ooh.
شو الزون الكلبة؟
Look at this. Look at this. Okay, where does AA go? Because there's not much land here. I don't think there's a little bit of the longer forest still in play, and these trees are kind of, you know, they're thick boys. You can play behind them, a little bit of rocks here and there, but especially with a vehicle, maybe you can create a bit of safety. But look at Heroic's position, and so many teams could maybe get vision on this. I love seeing a fight here. Oh, this is the ticket. This is the one. Nice shot from Sakura, trying to use the tank traps and any piece of cover that you can utilize to work up and just keep himself maybe in a fighting stance, but it is a 1v1 on the beach.
فكرته
basically, at this
نزله.
point. Zorf gets caught in the middle of the road. We were questioning, where does AA go? maybe not there. Okay, Exhalation, their time to try and make their best guess, and it is going to be a guess because a lot of this is over the ridge, Rich. They have no idea what's waiting on the other side.
Tixu finds Murd. There's the third headshot he's got with that bolt action now, just keeping people at bay. Up against it themselves. One good grenade though within sandbag and the dugout. Trenches could spell disaster. They'll put you in a safe position to occlude from bullets for sure, but it becomes a bottleneck if someone steps up close with a bit of utility. After all, they could get the vehicles and maybe slam into the compound that Heroic's in if they realize that Heroic is not there in numbers and in a weakened state. They maybe have a crack at it. I think there's only one place you can go. It might be the same thing for after all on the opposing
بس
side.
عليهم
Rise
بس
up in here for a lot of people falling in the kill feed.
صعبة
Mutiny turned up to try and defend the unannounced people playing.
أيوة حرقه معلم.
Two by through the window finds it but realizes someone hanging
حرق
out.
حاله.
Shots onto false
Oh no,
impact
the
for
molly's
now.
burning him.
T-Bone
يلعن حظه.
the engagement, so the heroic fight did fall down.
كيف هو احترق معه؟
Mollied himself. In the end, it just trickled through. Dead's the only one standing now for RTG. You've got Mutiny still with 3 players up at very least, and Dead's just using anything for cover, any way to kind of keep his head tucked down, keep himself away from the ever-present vision from Mutiny, who are sweeping and clearing. They're just eliminating by process where these players may be. Fuzzface, you know, Golem in his cave ain't leaving. He's living down there. That's his new life now.
لا إله إلا الله.
RTG dead, gone. Mutiny hold. Now let's look across the battlefield as to what we have left. Can I get some 1Gs in the chat, please, for that molly? It's been a minute since I've got to enjoy that. We have Ents over towards the western side. Navi, BBL. We have Exhalation in the north. Heroic, VP, and what remains of Skade with Ibby. In the south, SMB5, FaZe, and Mutiny. This is a very divided and tricky to play area, and I do not know where that circle's going to go now.
Ability. Now you put yourselves in a. All right. Okay. Keep the gun pinned down to where you go. Bit of scap, whatever you can. There will be some vehicles. I think at least one of them that you can use off the back of that. So keeps going. But the reason the smoke had to be there is because of the metal and the smoke will only keep you secure for so long. After all, did indeed slam into the backside of Heroic, and Heroic just backhanded them away. Another big contender within this lobby, not securing a win. FaZe Clan down to 1. Heroic down to 2 and forced to move. Now V, good position, deeper than many of the other teams behind them. Ents looking a little bit, a little bit rough now in the approach they will have to take. 3 teams staring at them.
يا رب جيبوا لنا الفي بي.
Isolation now V, all denying entry points. Stand out from all of this is that VP is still within it. If they somehow take out Heroic on the approach, this gives them a ton of space to work with.
Now Mutiny, this is interesting. Do they know that Fuzzface is down here still? They seem aware of the possibility because they're checking it meticulously. And they definitely had the fight earlier, but we'll come back to that because it looks like Ents are on the move up already. Trench warfare ready to go. Already got the guard tower there, the trenches that are dug out littered with the sandbags as Ents start working their way forward. Squeaky and Diggory, the first 2 in there. Rustamara takes through the back lines, but Exhalation do have some vision on this. It will limit how much room they have to move. They need a nade. They need something to get this one going. They need that spark to light the fire. Heroic in a similar spot, but only having a tree is not going to be enough. No way. Navi say no. Get out of here. You ain't coming in on this side. We're keeping our numbers up. And BBL are dug in deep on this.
Close combat, you put this in the hands of BBL just because of the sandbags and the objects they can traverse around. I mean, they're outnumbered and outgunned when it comes to, you know, straight up manpower. But Ents have to commit players down south to keep track of Exhalation. That's the only problem. There's a nuisance further afield that they can't take this cleanly, but Eventually, he has to come to a fray. One good knock would spell disaster. There it is, the opener. The second one, not going to happen, but the response is great. It's perfect. It's absolutely gorgeous. One player down, and all the rest of them claim the territory. There
Gorgeous.
Navi's heard this. Exhalation
شي
know
يعني؟
now that they're dug in. VP of a team you
يلا يا
needed
VP.
to take out.
حلو ال
Navi,
VP.
and you've just removed a
أخذوه إن شاء الله ال
player on player.
VP.
But he's not flushed yet. It's hard to get reses here. You can see him wanting it though. You know that 4-player advantage is huge. And VP just lost loot. Now he's not flushed either, but they are down to only what, 2 players standing now? They lost out on Batulins in this rotation run. Great call from him as your IGL. But still, VP, this is tricky to play with, right? You got the hard cover, sure, but late game, leaving that area could be a death warrant. Now moving up 5 from the south, still have Mutiny, still have SMB. Still have Exhalation. Plenty of teams in the south, and they want to clear this out. 5 need to get past SMB here. Already shots from the back lines, keeping them pinned in this shack. And the nades, the mollies. Here we go. Run or die in the shack. That's your choice. And they chose to try and make a fight of it. Apocalypse does go down, and this is looking like it's a clean out. Lazar does manage to keep his life.
It's Ensu who are chiming in, but the third party has come through in abundance. They don't quite realise where physics is just yet. He's trying to jump from on the top to be able to shoot through the window, but not going to happen. Denied. Mutiny from the beaches worm their way up. Lazar somehow stays alive. As last man, quick seat change, and he has to deny the beachhead, so I understand the point of hitting it with the vehicle. There's nothing else he can do at that stage. It'd be nice if Mutiny somehow remove Lazar from play, but he can stay here for now. He can keep the safety with him. Tixu watching the back lines, making sure Exhalation stay quiet and don't do some sort of god run up against them. For Ents, they actually need rid of Exhalation so they can focus on the problem at hand, which is Navi. Getting off this hillside, it's the same, I suppose,
Look
mirror
at the
image.
smokes. Look how laboured they are, Rich. The gaps between them, they don't have that much to play with, I'm pretty sure. They're trying to keep some back. They're trying to work with what they can. It's not a lot. And this fight isn't pretty. Rustamar's in, but I think that's about it. The rest still have to cross, and you can see the SLRs, the SKSs on the other side. I don't know if they're going to make it through this.
Navi can't raise its head, that's the thing. It can't third party this fight unless they go lower. If they go higher, that's when BP takes advantage of it and starts tapping away.
Great
First
work.
victim, first strike. This is a valiant attempt and an absolute
هون بلحق اعمل بس الجيم اللي بعده.
They have
ما
to
راح
keep
اشيله
going.
ما
nothing
بعمل.
else to work with like this. Eventually, that helps out. That helps even further. Big old nade strikes. There is a response. Tixu goes down.
Wow.
Squeaky, Diggory, they get the job done against what would seem unwinnable odds.
The res is coming in, right? But you know they are low on utility. You saw how laboured those smokes were. They're trying to keep a little back in the tank. They've got one on Diggory here. He's already spotted out where Mutiny are, but I'm looking at Na'Vi moving up in the back lines. That makes me nervous for Ents. Are they ready for this fight? Because Na'Vi have kept themselves safe. Now that's a great nade. Melman just deals with 2 so quickly. That's going to be a flush, surely. They're just raining in nades. But because of this overextend from Na'Vi, they are now open to VP. We're seeing a bit of fight coming back in, but Ents are left in tatters no matter which way you cut this. It's Squeaky and Diggory, yeah, the deadly duo at times, but on the other side, let's see if Na'Vi actually get punished for this. Virtus Pro can't move too far themselves. Great deals of smoke, though. That's a difference maker there. 9 still on some of the VP members, so that is a lot to work with late game, and that's going to be a call-out. Quizzy out in the open gets punished for this. They tried to get towards Ents when the iron was hot. They tried to strike while the pressure was there, but now receiving damage. Can they get a res? He's tucked himself back down under the defilade, so they should have a second to get this res off.
BP staying as long as it can, holding that angle and hoping that Navi shows face again. The vehicle's there so they can pull it to the tree and create themselves some kind of a barricade. Something to work with. I mean, you can even hear itself. The vehicle struggling, but there's danger from the back lines. They've not kept a track of this one. They had to go for the res, and it's cost them another knock.
دغري
This is the
دغري
knock
نزل.
Ents are allowed to flood into this. And even the tiniest amount of pressure from Ents could crack Navi. This gives BP time to set itself up, basically, and get ready for this.
Squeaky.
He's making it all that much harder for Navi. It's falling apart at the seams, and VP
حلوة
is
ال
laughing.
VP.
And I've got to say it, look at the amount of kills that Ents are getting. If they get a win, I don't see it being this game. I think they're a little too beaten and broken at this point. And maybe I'm underestimating them, but just looking at what they've got left, I feel it's a VP Na'Vi Mutiny game, who knows which way. But they are farming kills. I think they're in 11 so far. Ents are having a huge performance. They just need that dinner under the belt, and then they can start pushing. Until then, we wait and see. It's just down to Squeaky now. Yeah, 11 kills. What a performance. But already teams have moved into better positions. You've seen Lou, you've seen Na'Vi. They're already in there. Mutiny have shuffled in. Squeaky, back to Blue, is done for. Great work from Enzo. Brilliant run kill-wise. They just need that dinner in one of these games, and it could be theirs. But we are down to 3 teams now, Rich, or with 3 players alive.
ثلاثة.
Lose on his own.
ثلاثة.
Way, but no one else will really want to make a play on that.
حلو الفي بي.
We have some impeccable marksmen still in play, all with DMR.
ام دي ام بدهم يبشوا على الفي بي.
If they show face, they're probably going to lose it. We'd have to anticipate. At the moment, they will keep peppering away at the vehicles, and it's starting to.
راح تفجر الفيكلز.
Try and stay mobile to get to their next objective, which is Lou in front of them.
فجرت.
You made note. You touched on how many smokes they actually.
الفي بي بدهم يبشوا على الام دي ام. لا لا. بس 4 دول.
Understood that Lou is down there. No, he goes for the first rock, so he doesn't have that level of info yet. He's not been able to look over the ridge line and keep track of where VP.
يلا يا في بي. يلا يا في
We'll
بي.
see the two players moving forward, and Lou's there to try and hold the line. If he can catch the overextenders, then this will silence Mutiny.
هني مصوت لهم انا بركي بربح شيء. خليهم يفوزوا.
Count Navi out just yet.
No.
They've worked hard to get to this, and they've been broken while doing so. It's really hard to suggest with everyone playing edge.
Okay.
Mutiny's got to come in. That's the one thing to take from this. Mutiny still has to come into the fray.
And
it might drive towards VP. It might drive. They could be the game changer for either of these teams.
But they don't have any good place to transition to. Like, there's a couple of rocks there, but then they're open to both Na'Vi and VP to kind of create that danger. Let's see what they go for. It looks like they're in the vehicles now. High ground up. Do they dive in, or do they just try and take maybe the plateau at the top? They're still not in yet. Okay, Granula might have found a little step, which is safe at least. I say at least from Na'Vi. So the rest might be able to go up to him. It looks like they are. Now they're barely in. I mean, barely. And in these scenarios, you want to be the 3rd team. You want to be that last team to fight in this. And it looks like they're trying to avoid that at all costs, but I don't know if they can.
No mathematician, but if VP wins this, the maximum we could get for the next 2 games, the Liquid and a red line win. Taking that from them, at least Na'Vi would guarantee them. Excuse me, VP would guarantee themselves what, 3rd placement with this win. This one might be the one. This one could be the one that does.
النافي خسروا الفايت.
It's all yet to be determined and see how this final game does unravel. Mutiny is still edging forward. They know there is no ground whatsoever. They've been poking at VP for quite some time, but you poke the bear, and generally you get the claws. The nades will be committed. They're perfect. They slam it.
Hello, VP.
No time. No chance of revival.
Blue.
The 3rd party comes in and moves on to a different.
يا بطل. حلو النافي على البين النافي. الله حيو الفي بي. في بي.
They strike onto Mutiny. Mutiny strikes onto Navi.
كفوا الفي بي.
What do they do with these opportunities?
فرص اساطير والله لعيبه. طب هيك. اوه ماي جاد. واو. خالص معلم. بي بي. قهوة. يلا عندي بنش وحوش. وحوش.
It's the 2nd win on the board. It guarantees them a 3rd placement within PCS4 at minimum so far. Overall, could that be the one to win? We're not the admins. We're not the final jury staters who can absolutely put that on paper. But what we can say is that VP thus far has been a formidable force. Throughout the Continental Series, what we've seen them do with these lobbies, what we've seen them do in these competitions, it's nothing short of phenomenal to watch. It's picture perfect, even from the old rule set back to the new one and the updated one. They are just playing lights out Pubg.
They are some of the best, and you could see it there. They kept their composure at the very end, but to give us that insight, that kind of idea as to where we stand now, because as said, this shuffles things. I mean, Ents are on the climb. Plenty of teams are looking like they're firing up now. Let's hand it over to the desk to give us all that information.
وليه على الفي بي
Thanks so
عملوا
much for breaking that game down, guys. What a fantastic one, and what a wild and wonky circle as well. We were talking about it. We're gonna have some crazy ones. Yeah, that third shift was pretty crazy, Hyper.
Yeah, I mean, it's a wrangle that keeps on delivering. Throughout PCS4, it's been great to watch. I'm sure a nightmare to play, especially with how some of these have fallen out, with some teams absolutely dying for these wins. But VP, I gotta say, they last out through what felt like a war of attrition there throughout the end game. I mean, it was a very, very slow and methodical play. There was a point there where Mutiny had good sightlines onto both Na'Vi and VP, and I gotta say, it potentially would have been the most influential out of the three to take that win there.
Yeah, so we were talking about here, Mutiny and Na'Vi, both of them would have potentially pushed VP further down, but VP takes and secure their 5th chicken dinner of the tournament so far.
Yeah, this could have made the overall, like coming into the last 2 games, very, very close. Regardless of whether it's Mutiny winning, that would have pushed VP down into 5th, or if it's Na'Vi, of course, getting themselves another win and jumping up towards that first place spot this week. But VP winning this, that's now making it incredibly difficult, if not near impossible, for anyone to catch them.
Yeah, and also for this one here, Na'Vi could still have a great game and potentially take home the win of the week as well. And that's still, there's still a massive amount of difference in points on the board here, because Liquid is right now, they are sitting on top. They have 52 kills. Na'Vi also have 52 kills. If they take a win, they could potentially push off Liquid from their current throne for week 3 here, Hyper.
Yeah, I think now with that VP victory, I mean, overall bigger picture, we can kind of, I guess, wait to see what plays out, right? Now we look towards who actually is going to close out week 3, right? This is where, actually, the last 2 games, now we're going to look towards who can actually top out the week. Obviously, you know, overall-wise, there are so few conditions for VP not to come out on top now.
Exactly. And with this, of course, 8 kills for VP. They sit pretty comfortable up there. Mutiny 13 and Ends 11 as well, Toby. They played their heart out, but I was looking at the count of how many bullets they had, and it felt like it was the utility game that won everything for them here in the end.
It really was. I mean, we've had Batulin say utilities, everything, and it proved to be the point there. I think we saw Sparrow with 22 bullets in total. So when they got the double knock with the nades and none, we're like, well, okay, that's probably 15 to 20 bullets. They didn't have to fire that. Now they can focus the fire on the last Mutiny player that then ended up dying to blue. So fortunately, the bullets themselves didn't end up being the deciding factor in the end game there.
Yeah, you know, it's a critical situation when you have to drop your M4 to get the rest of the bullets out of that Hypoc to make sure you have enough to fire upon everyone coming at you.
I mean, I feel like they have more nades than 5.56, to be honest with you, which isn't a terrible spot to be in. I mean, in that scenario there, like I said, there was also a chance where he potentially couldn't even stabilize behind that vehicle, right? If Mutiny fell before that phase 8 closes, Na'Vi, I gotta say, cleaned them up with ease. If it comes down to a smoke battle there in phase 9 as it closes, VP don't win that.
Yeah, that play from Danimon and the boys on Mutiny, the amount of control that they had on the eastern side there, Tova, was really impressive, especially considering, I think the play that kind of won VP the game was when, I don't remember, was it Danimon that actually took the car and drove to the southern side and then started putting pressure and applying pressure? No, it was Granula that started applying pressure onto Na'Vi, because they were afraid that if they came over the hills, that's where Na'Vi's focus would be.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Na'Vi still had the edge there with the circle banana and the high ground, and that was really the only thorn. Like, the only area from where they could get punished was if Mutiny was allowed to get the other ridge down towards the water. And as you said, I mean, they pulled up on it, they played it perfect. Unfortunately for for Na'Vi, it ended up really working against them there.
Yeah, very unfortunate, but we have 2 more games to go, and we will see who's going to be the winner and who's going to finish in the top 3 to get all those juicy PGC points. We're going to be right back after this break, guys.
Ты далеко.
Я не вижу верхнюю. А, вижу верхнюю. Метку мне удал. Дерево.
Меня пуш. Тихо звук.
Помогай нам.
Хэп.
Сколько пушит?
3.
Иду.
Лох хп.
Не могу.
Лох хп у меня. Запуш.
Он не даст перейти мне, брат.
Окей. Звук.
Напрягай верхнего, я подхожу. Все, я с тобой.
Верхний.
Welcome back to PCS4 Europe Grand Finals, and with this first game of Wrangle with 2 more games to go here, Toby, VP takes a really crucial win, and there's basically only one way another team could win this.
Yeah, at this point, I mean, after just quick number crunching, there could be flaws, but we're pretty much looking at a situation where it's really only After All now that has a chance to win the tournament, and by doing so, they would need 2 wins since they haven't gotten any yet. And they would need to catch up to the 22 kill buffer that Liquid has in first place right now. So for me, that's the way it looks in terms of who's going to be able to win the whole tournament. Of course, still 20,000, still plenty of PGC points available for all these teams trying to get the win here in the final week. So of course, a lot to go for. But in my eyes, After All, pretty much the only team that has a chance now.
Super interesting thought for this one here. Let's take a look at the overall leaderboards for week 3 so far. 52 kills for both Na'Vi and Liquid. Na'Vi with another win could push Virtus Pro down, but still they would have to go super far. And like it's it's
and only 2 games left.
So I'm just looking at math, and it's actually really funny. Because I was just thinking, we were talking about this before we came onto this segment. Basically, After All have to do what they did previously, right? Week 2, day 1, go back to back. Guess how many kills they got on those back-to-back wins?
21.
There you go.
Hey, you didn't expect
They need one more, though. They need one more. They need one more.
Oh, thank you, mathematician Toby. 21 is not 22. You're correct.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. Yeah. But I feel like there's no chance we're going to see Liquid go out and die. No, that's also happened before. So yeah, it's very likely. Nothing is settled and set in stone yet here, Toby. But still, there's a lot of teams that are still vying to be as good as possible. Liquid, obviously, they want to try to keep onto this throne here. They would be sitting on 28,000. They could secure themselves north of 200 PGC points. And considering they have, I think, 95 from ESL, they'd be sitting extremely comfortable in around 300 PGC points.
Exactly. It's all about adding up those points over the course of the tournament. Yes, you can win one of the events, but if you then go out doing absolutely nothing the other 3 events, then that might be you not qualifying into one of those if it wasn't the absolute prime event of the year. So if Liquid can get points in these, make points here as well, get points in the 2 events to come, they're looking really good as well.
And that's another interesting thing, right? Because PCS5 has a guaranteed spot for first place, and I would love to see it, be like an open qualifier team that can completely dominate, but it's looking very likely that we're going to continue to see, the same sort of dominance from the teams we've had here, Hypog. It's the same teams that are continuing to do well here at PCS4 that also did well in ESL, and soon ESL Summer is coming up as well, and it's looking very likely that it's going to be quite top heavy. So we could potentially see, one of these open qualifier teams go in and snatch one of those spots that are in the bottom, because we have these 7 extra spots.
Yeah, and it's interesting as well, because when we removed some of the top teams, I guess after the first 2 events, ESL and PCS4, if they're kind of out of that discussion already, it kind of shifts the objective completely, right? And they're in the same bracket as some of these open teams, so it does make it very interesting coming forward if you don't place particularly well here in terms of the PGC points going forward for us, especially some of the bigger teams we've seen absent from these other events.
Yeah, and also from this here PCS so far
Absolutely.
we've had some teams that have not been doing as well as they did for ESL. FaZe has been a team that hasn't really been able to step up so far. Are we expecting them to win here, maybe, Toby, in the last 2 games?
I mean, FaZe is a team that can always go from you having very low expectations to going out and getting a 20 kill win. That's something they've done before. That's something I wouldn't be surprised to see them do again. Maybe not 20, but in the 15 kill margin, they can easily do it. It hasn't been going their way. They haven't found their way to late game, but I'm sure they can do it if things kind of go their way in the next 2.
And let's see how everything turns out. With 2 more games of a Wrangle to
اختصروا يا
go,
اخي نبلش الجيم.
and the best looking period east of
اعطيني 10 دقائق كنت رح اكمل الجيم هذا. انا ما فيني لحق.
Well, I'm going to say that's me. So thank you very much, Marin. I very much do appreciate that. For all said and done,
شاء الله رح
so
اكمل
I have to
الجيم.
have something going from at the end of the day. It's the penultimate map, Lauren. This is it. The Americas, APAC, Asia, everybody has found their PCS4 Grand Champions. After this one game, if the mathematicians are correct, if the circumstances do happen as they do, AA could be the only opponent to remove this trophy from VP.
Yep. It's a
نعم شكله مو بالطيارة.
We're asking a lot. I think we've seen the potential that AA can
مطار
bring.
مطار.
I think that's the kind of notion that I'm stuck with, is that we have seen what they look like when it goes well, but right now I'm seeing Heroic right next to them as well. And we haven't seen them hit that stride today. We haven't seen Pokemolodoy popping off, or Bogati just drilling people. But it could happen. It could. It can and will in the next 2 games. We'll get the resolution. QBE, haven't seen a iron-sighted SKS in a minute, so that was interesting. And we wait for the circle. Oh.
Yeet.
Now, Rich, I've seen something like this before.
الوزون.
I've read this story once previously.
Correct.
Oh no. All right. Well, get around the bridge, boys. That's the best place to go, right? Just somewhere lurking around bridge. You get the best of both worlds. Then you can transfer it across into Sosnovka should the odds be in your favor. But PUBG can be a very fickle one now and again. Sends it all the way to the north, and the Hunger Games begin.
But can we just appreciate that, like, most teams, when they first see the circle in the previous one, right, they're like, okay, it's probably Millie Island. Like, as I said, like, I'd say 70% of the lobby, maybe even 80, went to the island, which is pretty reasonable. But now they have to sit there and go, is it going to do this to us again? Is it really going to do this to us again? That little extra layer of doubt has to be, like, looming on their minds, right? And also, this team's actually on the island this time. You have Skate down there and RTG. I'm pretty sure last time, like, almost no one dropped there. So, a little bit of a difference. At least you have some starting there. And, yeah, I guess that changes it slightly, but not by much.
As I remember correctly, Aitzi was the first one over to the opposing side. We watched him in the car. We got the quick aerial overview. There were no one there. He drove over. Then FaZe could kind of dictate some of the teams that were coming over from that side. With Nova already gone. Military base contested, RTG down there. The aerial tower, the radar towers within Skate's hand. I'm just wondering. See Dead if he wants to try and work his way up there because he's in the plateau.
بس يصير بالليل ترتفع حرارة عنه.
I wouldn't think so. Not as a one-man band. You're not going to be attacking that head on. Wait. Hold the phone. Navi's gone early. Navi is in front of Liquid. This never happens. They're set up. Their gun's ready. Look at this. Quizzes behind the box. Alia in the glass house. Examples followed up as well. Did Liquid catch for it? I think they did. They've just turned. They turned. They've seen it. Navi went for the camp on them. The first time they've really ever done this. And Liquid has avoided it at all cost. But at what cost? Because on the opposing bridge, it's just as loud.
Oh, yeah. Welcome to COD 2 Rifles. We're just here on Carantan. And, I mean, I love seeing just, like, the iron sights on bolt actions, man. They're just, it's nice. So, to kind of carry on from that kind of discussion, Navi did stop, but they
والله عم تجيهم زونات الشباب اقسم بالله عيب عيب
kind of on that south road that kind of leads
لا والله يا عباس
they sat on the hill, maybe scouted for a second, saw them moving, and then moved on as well. So, and they've gone back to Pachinki.
ماكو هيج والله ماكو هيج.
I guess they're like, well, we can't go quickly now, so we might as well loot up more. What?
So I'm wondering if, right, because Navi isn't a team. Let's be honest, Navi's not necessarily a team that we would assume for it. This could be to do with their standings thing, like Liquid have been making some sort of a run up the top.
والله ماكو هيك يا عباس. لك عم تجيهم زونات والله. كيف عم يضيعوا الجيم؟ وصلوا للآخر يعني آخر 5 آخر 6 آخر 4 حسب. ضيعوا الجيم. امبارح شفت لهم جيم وصلوا يعني باقي لهم تيم واحد بس سكواد واحد ضد سكواد ضد. خسروا الجيم. يعني على نكشة. بس شوف النقاط كثير متقاربين.
If you're sat there and you're Liquid, now your whole game plan and the timing that you normally stick to has been switched up, right? It's out of sorts. Now they can still play slow. They'll be okay, but it's not the normal. Now, what are Navi up to now? That's what I want to see. Are they sticking around on this side of the bridge? They did move over, but did they leave the
كيف ما
bridge?
صاروا الأول.
I don't think they did. VP have just pulled up in towards farm. Oh, this is going to be a mad one. I think Navi is still on the bridge here. And BBL are going to find out.
هلا بيصيروا الأول.
Yeah, they definitely are. We have players now waiting on
علقت بين بي بي ال والنافي. نزل واحد من بي بي ال. مين نزله؟ ميرت.
Not a bad connection. Blooming heck, that You and Peace being put to work. Now the other two have pulled up though. They haven't full sent. One's made it through, which is
والله اسف
smashing.
انا يعني
Two
بوقت
are
اللي
locked on
اجي
the
بس
bridge.
بروح اكل لاني ما متعشي كل يزج. راح اسكر البث انا هذا اخر جيم وروح على الشغل برضه. شكله ما وصلك اشعار ما بعرف شو بس اليوتيوب بيوصل الاشعار بعد بيوم. حتى انا عندي هيك بس تكون مشترك قنوات يعني ما بينزل فيديو الشخص وبعد يومين لحتى يوصلني اشعار. ما بعرف شو
completely, and that's absolutely calculated. Na'Vi doesn't go early. They know who does. It's only one team that likes to get out of Pachinki quickly and get across that bridge, and it's TL. BBL now forced to wait on the opposing side, losing one player. Remember, Smash did make it through.
وصلني بس انا ادرس للاسف. ليه بس؟ مو بس انت يعني بشكل عام ما بيوصل اشعار.
Alright. Alright. Crack on Batoon.
حرام.
Batoon is so good, man. Like
حلو البيبي.
I'm normally not a personal fan of players. I don't think it lends well to our job, but it's hard not to like Batulans. He's like, they're gonna treat you. Have a little
Incredible.
code. We're gonna pop it on the screen. JS6 VDU SL8EYW. Grab it while it's there, pop it in the game, and if you
كود لعلحت شغله.
Now,
على الجيم يلا يا رب.
on their progress heading from the east south, and gosh, I really would love to see Ends pick up a chicken dinner.
Okay.
Kind of unlock the beast, right? Unleash the beast of the amount of
فاصل
kills
بس
they've
على
been
تويتش
pulling
يعني.
up here. And Nalub's having a sneaky peek.
شو صاير بتويتش؟
My eyes are fixated on that map.
الله.
BBL being forced onto the opposing
ما
side.
فاصل
We'd
بس
have to
بتويتش
assume
خلاص.
Smash comes over to take a look for info, see if Navi's still lurking. I mean, they're on the hillside. They're in a better position to allow teams to get across it. But BBL's presence is going to force so much damage, and Hugh is making light work of DA. That's two players mopped up. Navid cycled left hand side. That peak is absolutely.
خلاص يا جدعان بقى خلاص ايه القرف ده؟ ايه النت ده؟ والله العظيم ده بيشتغلني النت ده.
You need to turn it is. Youth, the man of the hour. 4 versus 1 just demolishes DA from the little Potter Tower himself. Lazar does go down in the meantime, but it means nothing. What a jump. The lean out the window. Perfection.
Yeah, Avada Kedavra, they're all dead. I mean, that was the timing on that. That was quite nice from Nalub. But the timing on that, like the play on the window was just perfect. That was so sick. Now we're going to see a huge battle erupt here. I'm already seeing it. We're going to have Liquid, AA, BBL, Heroic, all on the western bridge, and the east is still busy. Teams they're not committing across. Liquid, they are so out of sorts on this. This is so weird compared to what they used to. And okay, they found Embargo. This is one of the teams that's the only one of the teams that could truly chase towards the top side of things in the grand scheme here. Liquid doing what they can, but Bogaty's going to say, well, look, if you're going to drag us down, I'm going to drag you with us. Shots ain't coming through, though. Bogaty's missing a sitter. There's Clib now going to move on up. Gets himself out the window looking for this is not a nice fight for anyone here.
What? He just hit him in the head from that? Okay, we might as well carry on. You know you've tagged him, so you might as well go and frag him. Pokemon is there to boot as well, so he needs to lend out a hand. Easy lean. Second spray goes in, applies the pressure, and Clib is feeling it. This man is just the intensity he brings to gunfights. The level of technical skill.
RPG.
Horrific. Heroic. Keep track of that. Also, about to hit the bridge. The two players that are left standing from AA, they're going to carry on. Remember, if we're working off the wins that these two players are the ones holding the mantle and one holding VP back away from the trophy. Well, that job for them just got a hell of a lot harder. Heroic is chasing them down. If they see this off the bridge, if they realize who it is, then maybe they just go and punish them.
Very much could do. We'll see if that's the case. I'm seeing VP still by exhalation. I'm seeing some crazy things. This circle is
crazy
mad.
things.
Now VP trying to clear through this. Boom's just like, well, look, I'm just gonna take your time. All right, I'm just gonna chill here. When you try and leave, peekaboo. That's it. Now the rest of Exhalation have already left. He is on his own. They've gone. They're in boats. And he's hearing all these footsteps. They're breaching and clearing to Boom. Let's see what he's up to. Just sweating away. feeling the
ما
pressure.
ما رح يصير شيء، هي
Now
بس
this
أول
Spyro back to the wall, tries to stay away from the banister, stop that gun from
شفت؟
cocking up. Brilliant, nice clear from Spyro. So well done. Flush comes out. VP take the house.
My God. Like you'd assume the person camping in the room, right, has the overpeak advantage. No chance. The snap, the drill, it's done. VP will keep a hold of that compound, but it's outside of it. There's no reason they have to leave very, very shortly. Towards the bridge, and Liquid will be rotating on the same path as well. So that'll be a massive, massive fight. Top of the table versus current leading champions, quote unquote. Page finding BBL out in open waters. Did lose one on the bridge earlier on to Na'Vi. Let's not forget about that. So they're down in manpower at the moment. They're also looking towards the side of SMB and trying to get a read on what's in front of them. Lay of the land and understand. But a big old M24 rings loud and proud, and Marco knocks him on his backside.
Yeah. So at this point, let's see what they can do with any of what's presented. Still waiting to see VP make their way in. Liquid, I think, about
BBL اليوم ما عم يعرفوا يلعبوا
themselves from the coast if they can.
ولا الهيرويك على فكرة.
They looking for?
I think they are.
They're on the ferry. I wonder. I thought. Is that where they're sat still?
Welcome to the Over 80s cruise. Today we're going to be heading out towards the military island. Please make sure to use as much of our luxury service as you'd like. It is all inclusive. Dinner will be served at a nice 5 p.m. for the elderly. They'll be going to bed nice and early. And I mean, they're going to be on their way whenever they get there. Boats are gone, so what are you going to do? Now, VP ends to swimming.
You're in the wrong job, Lauren.
They're having a great day. So am I. Exhalation, though, they kind of got screwed by VP clearing that house so well. And now they've just been absolutely backhanded by Redline as well. Instinct's just going to go and live on the coast. He's had enough of the busy life. He's going to retire to the country like seemingly all of my friends are. They've all hit like 30 and they're leaving the towns now. It's very terrifying. Off to suburbia. Now, VP about to make it across the bridge. I think they're in the vehicles. Keep in mind, Liquid, as said, on their retirement cruise. Over they come. They'll be making landfall soon. They are out of the blue, which is one bonus, I guess. So they can just cruise on in, quite literally. Oh no, Batulins, please. Please, Batulins. Just wait. If Batulins sees them, if he kills one of them off the boat.
Sparrow's looking.
Okay, they're gonna see. Okay, for starters, Skate are gonna be looking down towards SMB. They're gonna be peppering the shots. But if VP kill Liquid off a ferry. Oh. I'm seeing guns out, I'm seeing M24s. So that's Batulins, I think, dropping down to the water. Yeah, Lou's definitely seen that. Here we go. As soon as they hit the beach, welcome to the island, boys. You should have stayed on the boat. The cruise was safe, it was comfortable, the food was blended, there was no worries. You were having a great day. Now VP are making a bit of a problem for themselves. And I like the fact they had the fullback plan of Batulins already on land as well, making sure that they had that gateway themselves. So, as said, putting together a mental image. I don't know if they're going to expect instinct over there, but still, they should be okay at this approach. Looking further afield, we now go to the radio tower, right? This is where it's closing towards. Who's on the top? I guess you got Skate up there, RTG, SMB, Na'Vi, everyone trying to scale up.
ولعت بين الار تي جي والمارتيزي. قتلوا للديد. دايما بيقتلوا الديد اول واحد. يا ديد ليه كده يا ديد؟ ليه؟
All the way up against the
طب
rock
بالراحة يا
down there as well, so they can't go too far all the way past Nova, otherwise they're in trouble. BP, for all intents and purposes, the last one to this party, have made it to a very, very prime location.
Very.
But I can understand why people aren't here. It's because of the teams that are in vicinity of this, up towards the radio tower, up towards
RTG خسروا واحد RTG.
I've just caught wind.
BBL ماسكين الليكويد مسكة حقيقة حقيرة.
You know, they've not been involved in too many fights.
والله حقيرة.
To get to this circle as being treacherous, all this simply off the back of Na'Vi showing presence. Like, they didn't even engage with them. It makes me wonder if they hadn't seen that bike and gone forward. They had the UMP. They may have just lost one player. They've been further forward of this markup.
يا اخي البريطانية حلوة اللي بحبها.
They are outside of the blue here, so damage is going to be well and truly in abundance. Once you go down,
مو بريطانية ها؟
back up are going to be very, very
أعتقد.
slim. Ibi, next one to take damage.
حلو، موقع الار تي جي كويس.
Two players will be able to at least back him up and see in this. He'll have to dip down low to see what else he can do. Clib could be the savior if they don't keep track of him.
شو عم يحكي
Gets around them, then maybe the flank could be devastating. Zorf, the team that was there to challenge VP, is down to one player. It's one player hiding behind a car. It's Poker Molodoy. What can he do apart from hope and pray?
Nah, I'm putting that right in the pocket of VP. Sin still 4 alive, looking good. Clib, what can you do, bud? Spot 2 driving away. Great spray, does do some good damage, but just watching as they already progress
يلا يا
further
شباب
ahead.
فرصتكم.
BBL have got greater aspirations in that fight that was behind them. They're going to lead into the circle.
على
if
فكرة
they
هاي
can.
الزون مرقة معهم
Where they go, these are
ببطولة
pretty
معي
rough
بتذكر
areas to
مرة.
try and traverse.
نفس الزون ونفس
It's not an
مواقع
easy fight.
التيم
It's pretty
تقريبا.
steep either side. Yeah, they're out on foot.
كان في سكواد فوق عم
Really,
يضربون.
Quizzy's got a good angle on that
وإنه
too.
بالبيوت
So
كانوا
BBL,
هون.
I don't know if I love that
تذكر.
rotation. Hell, Liquid could look over and be like, why did you leave? Where have you gone?
ما
But
هو
we'll see
المرة.
what Liquid do. I mean, they're trying to just work their way in, man. They are just working with the hand they've been dealt, and it ain't a great one. But also FaZe, another team that I wanted to look towards because they were one of the earlier ones across on the Eastern Bridge. They went towards a kind of
FaZe,
edge compound on
Ins-
Novo, you know, the one that overlooks, has a
طبعاً
nice little
صعب
kind of
شوي.
surround on it. Now they have to move out though. So where they head, I want to note.
The first point of contact is going to be outskirts of Nova. You got 2 teams within residency here. Ensu have been super quiet, by the way. They
3 teams.
swam. They
4
bloody
teams.
swam
طيب
from the opposing cliff faces
فيز
out by
مشوا ما عجبهم
backside of Milta
المكان.
Power, if you will. Well, further down Milta Power, excuse me. Relay station off the edges of it.
لا والله
I
بشوا
don't
على
think they
الام
realise
تي
that
ان.
any of these teams are here, but
حلو.
someone's got a level 3 gun. Level 3 gear and ready to rock and roll and put it to good use. Mutiny here in abundance.
اه
Nate
ما
goes upside of
توقعوا
it, but
سكلوا
now
له يكون تخلي ورا.
the danger from the water strikes, and they've
اوه
also
حرام
got
حرام
gear
موتة
to
كلبة.
boot.
بدر.
Squeaky's having a field day with FaZe.
Yeah, FaZe have just suddenly been surprised in the weirdest way. Fuzzface will find Squeaky, I think, or at least one of them on the way up. I think that might have gone towards actually Dex able to claim that in the
دغري
end,
لساته
but
عايش كمان.
no one
دغري.
walks out of this cleanly. Redline
دغري
at best
دغري
walk out
على
with
اليمين.
what, 3? Maybe 4? I don't know. I mean, they do have 4 alive, so maybe Redline could. They have a nice 2-2 split, but FaZe are in tatters. Enter down to nothing. Fuzzface is just dragging people with him. The Grim Reaper at this point can take him for a bit of a dive. I mean, he's half HP.
ما
He's still
يتزون
got
على
meds. He
فكرة.
can make a run in, but this
لا
time
والله
didn't
راح
really linger
يتزون.
around. As soon as he
دغري.
crests that hill,
دغري
really
راح
don't need
يت.
many chances. Oh, the timing. Who
أو
gets it
دغري
first?
راح يموت يعني.
It's timing.
لا لا موت حاله
This
زون.
is on one. Liquid's now on one. Clib did take. He got a 2-for-1 off the back of BBL and managed to at least.
Yeah.
اوه الزون بالجبل.
Players of Redline
يجي.
working on this ridge line. They're actually going to come to a very interesting end here if they can keep it clean. They can. Lacroix gets the heal off. This will be a 4 versus 4 fight.
هبل بالجبل.
They can wrap on this. They can maybe make
هيك اسم
something
الجيم
happen,
لازم
especially if
يكون.
they're quick. It would force Redline to stay on the defilade of the hill and keep them downwind. Oh, I didn't realize how far they. Okay, so for Rudy and Dex, that's a bit of a bridge too far. That's a very, very long stretch to run across, especially if QB and Look keep a track of what's going on. They don't. Dex strikes, and this is the time for Physics and Co to pounce.
بيعوم.
It'd be a huge game for them. Secure the eastern side of this map would be massive, but they do have to clear out Ivus, which is still a problem. You don't see him right now because he's still in the back lines. He'll have oversight on all of this. So if they do crest that hill a little too far, that's where the punishment will come in. That's why Naileup and QBE don't have to run too far away. They are depending on Ivus to keep them safe. And we saw some tags, but it wasn't enough to dissuade Dex, who does get Naileup, knocks him, and now the threat is looking minimal from Ivus. He's got to leave the
يا رب يخلص الجيم
compounds in
بسرعة.
anyway. He
بدي
has to
روح.
get a move on regardless of where he was holding before. Looks like maybe they've got some vehicles there. I know FaZe pulled up to it, so I imagine there's some bits and pieces around yet in the car, but not going particularly too far. He's still going to just kind of shuffle up a bit, maybe get line of sight, and try and help out QBE and Naileup.
Still king of the mountain for Skade. Aerial Tower's giving him clear vision and a full read on how the circle's playing out, where teams are going to be residing in, what's going to be open, what's not. And everyone else is going to have a very difficult time traversing up to them, like it's almost nigh impossible. Dex is feeling feisty. He might just look over this and